All right, we have an all-star panel discussion with Dennis and JB, and I'm going to start with you, Dennis. I think AEW did a pretty good job, formulaic, but not in a bad way, of promoting a pay-per-view that I think a lot of people coming into Dynamite tonight might have forgotten was even taking place with all the hype for SummerSlam and All In, and heck, coming out of Saturday night's main event. It got maybe a little lost in the shuffle. But I think with the lineup that they had, which, as I talked about on some VIP podcasts in recent days, looks really good on paper as a viewing experience, I didn't feel the sales pitch had landed enough, and we might be seeing kind of a lower end of buys because it did feel a little secondary. But I thought they did a nice job making it feel relevant. Dennis, your thoughts first.
Oh yeah, I mean it was nice. I think that even Excalibur forgot there was a pay-per-view, considering he called it Revolution multiple times, not Redemption.
I feel less bad because I've called it many R names over the last week too. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So that was right at the beginning of the show he called it that. So that was very interesting.
Yep.
I think they did a really good job, and they fought really, really hard to try to get Knight over as a legitimate tonight, is what I feel like that was kind of the idea behind it. I mean, they needed to. He's not main event caliber yet. He's getting there. He's very rough on the mic. He even showed that again tonight. He's not polished on the mic at all. But in the ring, Darby really tried to get him over tonight. And then I feel like even Fletcher in the end was trying to get him over pretty hard, with the disagreements between them. So I think when you're trying to build a main event or a pay-per-view with a main event that doesn't have like everything, all the star power, they did a good job of that. But it was a weird show. It was a little off, I felt too.
JB, your thoughts on my topic and kind of the overall show as Dennis just brought up.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they hit all the major beat points going into, pay-per-view that, a lot of people are saying, kind of B-level, and some would argue not even necessary, at this point before one of the biggest shows of the year. But I thought for the main event, it was very main event focused. I mean, it kind of bookended the show with the opening, kind of backstage promo, and then, obviously ending with the multi-man or the trios tag. And then, as Dennis mentioned, I mean, Kevin Knight, that was a big focus tonight as well. And I think the point of putting Kevin Knight in the main event of presumably the main event of the Redemption pay-per-view is to, establish him as a future main eventer going forward. And I think with the pay-per-view, kind of the way things fell with Omega having to beat MJF at Beach Break instead of at this pay-per-view, most likely, I think ultimately it could be a happy accident in the sense that if it helps get Knight further over, they can use that for the future as well. That can be a building block. So I think ultimately the two major beat points coming out of tonight's show was obviously the Omega Ospreay Mox situation, and then Kevin Knight versus Omega at Redemption, and they hit those pretty well. So can't complain too much.
And we'll get into it later, but I think Tekla and Willow with Mick Foley had a spotlighted segment. We can evaluate how it went, but that I think having them stand on the stage with Mick Foley present and involved with them, I think elevated the awareness of the match. Let's focus on Kevin Knight though first, so we're not jumping all over the place because there are a few topics to talk about. I have been higher on Kevin Knight's mic work and kind of star presence than most, but I'm not. It doesn't mean I disagree with the assessment that he's rough, and I think there's work to do. I agree with that. I just don't think it's as. I think it's just sort of just barely below where you need to be for being a main eventer, as opposed to what I sense of some people thinking he's way below. So, but that aside, he's not a natural on the mic. It does feel like it's a bit of an effort sometimes. But in the ring and with the body language and the way that he matches his body language and his ring work to his character, I think that elevates him. And it is a B pay-per-view, although Excalibur noted in the main event, we talk about Ospreay challenging Omega, but it might be Ospreay challenging Knight, depending on what happens Sunday. And I think you have to say that. You can't, just act like it's inevitable. But realistically, almost nobody thinks Kevin Knight's going to come out of that pay-per-view with a title. And I think if you were to say, well, what if I told you I heard it might happen? Everyone would think, well, Omega will win it back soon.
Right.
And I guess that's the only option is, does Knight win for a short title reign because Omega's worn out from this match? And the belt shot from Knight knocks him silly and they tell some story and then Omega gets it back. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm almost planting it just to say it out loud, so maybe I have a little suspense when I watch Sunday. But I'm still okay with it. Like I think it's not ideal to have a world title match that feels like it's sort of a given what's going to happen and it's a B-level challenger. But I do think, like you guys said, Knight being in this spot, even in losing, elevates him a bit. So with all that said, you can comment on anything I said, but JB, I'll throw to you first on this. What do you think happens? What is the story they tell with Omega and Knight, and does it involve anybody else, like the Don Callis family, for instance, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main story is that Knight's elevating himself to be on the main event level. I mean, I think that's the story in and of itself. Granted, the Callis family will probably get involved in some capacity, and maybe even Mox Ospreay in some capacity as well. I could definitely see that happening, trying to further, those stories in some way. I mean, I don't know how that'll work, but there could definitely be, chicanery involved in that match, which, I think would actually potentially fit for what they're trying to do it all in. Mm-hmm. But the ultimate story is, and I think I'm more on your side, Wade. I think people are actually being way too harsh on Kevin Knight. I think he's fine for what he's doing for being a heel. I mean, is he excellent? No, I wouldn't say he's excellent by any means, but he's also, people forget, basically 6 months into consistently cutting regular promos. And he's not, I don't think he's as bad as people are making. I mean, I think he's definitely room to work with, don't get me wrong, but he's very early on. And like you said, I think the way he carries himself in ring and in match kind of, yeah, he's very athletic, but I do think he kind of tells a bit of a story in there as well. So I think there's a lot of potential to build on. So I think the ultimate focus is getting him over, and obviously they're going to progress the Mox Omega Ospreay story in the process, and try to build that up as strong as they can for All In. So,
well, yeah. So we'll get into what happened with Mox also, and how that all plays in. Dennis, your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I think it's all set for Knight to get over as a main event guy. I mean, they've done this in the past with other guys. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm fine with it. I feel like if you grew up in the ECW time, you were used to guys that aren't really supposed to be in the main event. I mean, I watched a pay-per-view where Taz and Candido opened the show, and I can't even remember what it closed with, probably a Dudley Boys match. But yeah, so it's okay to have a pay-per-view where you know who's going to win. It's we always tell stories, or they always tell stories in this way. Like it's okay to tell a story that the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's all about the story that they're telling right throughout it. So yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah. We'll throw a couple comments here from people watching us live on our YouTube channel. You're always invited to join us live on YouTube, by the way. Just go to my report at PWTorch. I cover Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown with written reports every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in there is a link that'll take you directly to our show, which goes live roughly 5 minutes after the shows go off the air, give or take a few minutes. And you can also subscribe to our channel and bookmark it and find our live show alert there too. You can even set an alarm so that you get notified when we go live. And we appreciate those of you who join us live. But of course, hello to everybody else watching us on demand on YouTube, or the vast majority of you on the podcast side of things. Welcome. Quick reminder, I say this at the end of the shows, and then I will go to those comments on the screen. Please give us a 5-star rating in whatever app you're using us in. If you're on the podcast side, an Apple Podcast, Spotify, or another app, please give us a 5-star rating. We want to increase our average, so those who are listening to us, most of you probably like what we're doing, and it would be nice if you showed that by taking a moment to give us a 5-star rating. So the comment here, some comments in the chat on Kevin Knight. Sadler Vision 3 goes, I like Knight as a heel. He's way more interesting to me now than he was when he was in the tag team. I just wish he was alone instead of with the Don Callis family. The faction obsession in AEW is annoying. Now, I'm going to take a little blame because I said for a few years often that I wanted Tony Khan to get in the Don Callis business. I felt like AEW had a stretch of time where it just there's sort of this flow to, well, this 3 to 6 to 9 weeks we're kind of focused on these group of people, but then a couple would be sort of disappear and others would float in, and Don Callis would be there some weeks and not others. The Don Callis family rarely appeared together on screen, backstage, or in the ring, so it didn't really feel like a faction. Don Callis sort of phoning it in on commentary, which was entertaining, but it didn't feel like he was driven to win Manager of the Year, and he wasn't really putting a ton of thought into his programs, and the bookers weren't. All of that is not true anymore. So I will take this. I honestly, I do not mind a bloated faction. It's the constant complaint for people that everybody's in it. And to me, it's different. It's novel. Like most factions, you're either a tag team, you're a trio, 3-person team, or you're a faction of 4 to 7. I kind of like this. This is really novel. they're doing more to establish the differences between them. I don't want to give any positive, any kind of positive framing of AEW having so many titles, but if you're going to have this terrible thing of so many singles titles, I kind of like a big faction with 3 wrestlers standing with 3 of them who are all kind of looking at each other like, my belt's shinier than yours or more important than yours, or I'm going to have a more prestigious title reign than yours. So they're taking a baseline negative. I'm not encouraging it. I'm discouraging it. Right. But if you're trying to extract a positive, that was kind of a cool visual tonight. And Don Callis has stepped it up. I thought he was sharp on color tonight. Shivani's like, would you, or Taz, I think it was Taz said, wouldn't you like Brody King on your group? And Don goes, well, problem with Brody King is he likes to think for himself. And then Shivani goes, oh, your men don't think for themselves? And Don Callis is like, well, they can, but they choose to focus on wrestling and let me do the thinking for them. And then Shivani's like, you foiled me, was trying to take you down or something like that. Don was quick on his feet, and I like how involved he is I've seen that over the years in different territories and promotions where there's a singular manager who's a really big deal, and he's stepping up. He's earning his time, and it's a really interesting mix of wrestlers. I mean, it's a really diverse group, and they're doing just enough to make me understand their dynamic. I like the bickering. I like Don Callis making excuses for the bickering, going, it's a sport. I encourage our guys to go at each other. But he implies that a little bit of infighting or tension is fine with him, and, build some adrenaline and motivation, but that he manages it and he's confident he can manage it. So to me, it's interesting. I don't mean to demean somebody who doesn't like it, because you can legitimately not like it. But I do think it's sort of a low-hanging fruit to go, the faction's too big, I can't keep track of it. And I just encourage people to rethink, is this, if it's an exception, is it being done well for the exception? And what really is wrong with it other than it feels wrong to you? And again, your answer to that can still be, I don't like it. And Wade, you can't talk me into liking it. But give it just kind of hit refresh, kind of go, maybe this is working better and I shouldn't just by default complain because it's so many guys in the background and it feels wrong to me. So I say all that. That was a comment from Sadler that kind of inspired me to talk about the Don Callis family. Dennis, I'll throw to you first on that. What is your view on the Don Callis family? Because I thought tonight we saw a lot more intramural tension and interplay with them than we have at any one time. It felt like a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks worth of interactions between them. And I kind of thought it was well done.
Yeah, no, I think that they have their higher end members of it, and then you have Roppongi Vice. So I mean, you have kind of like the whole gamut. I like the like you said, the end bickering. I like that Callis is like, hey man, they're athletes. I want them to compete. I want them to do all of that, and we're probably gonna get a night in with a Fletcher match at some point, and that's gonna it's probably gonna be pretty good. And I think I love that they have the belts. I wish with them all going back and forth to Mexico too, as well, because they have the CMLL champion Hit Chisero. I'm like Roppongi Vice having one of their titles wouldn't be bad either. So something like that would be just add more belts to the whole thing. But they already like to bring everybody's belts onto the show.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. They always like to bring so many belts on. We got to see the ROH title again tonight. So Tony loves his titles. But no, I do. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah. So yeah, no, they did a good job though. I like the Callis family. It's the oversized bloatedness of it is amusing. If anything, it works for them. I agree that normally it wouldn't work. It wasn't good when the NWO had 900 members or the whole roster. But yeah, I do like this. I like what Callis has done, and Callis has stepped up his game in the last month or two as well. And then there was one more thing. There was just a comment that Taz made with that he made something. Callis made a comment about Bandito being short. Did you guys catch that? And then Taz kind of snapped back at that. Yeah. It was right before the Brody, before the Brody comment. Right before the Brody comment. Yeah, it was funny.
Turned heel for turned face for a second. So
yeah, he did. So yeah, I like it though.
The reason you could see me wanting to jump in, Dennis, but I held off, and I wanted to get your other point in for sure. With the NWO being like this bloated faction with all the sub factions and all that, to me, that's kind of like with a Bullet Club, where people are like, wait, you're trying to live in the past. You're trying to pull from something that was once great, and it feels derivative. It's like something that used to be good and disciplined, and now it's undisciplined, and you're just glomming onto it as opposed to coming up with something new. That's not what I feel that Don Callis family is. I feel it just is what it is. It's not like, oh, it's so big at one time, and now we're just trying to leech off of its past when it was good. So I just, again, doesn't mean you have to like it. Some people, we can have different opinions on it, but I don't like that comparison, because the NWO was spread thin because it was a company that was out of ideas, trying to expand and water down something that was once great. JB, your thoughts?
Yeah, so far the Doghouse family, I think we've talked, we've discussed it, but I think the key is differentiation is key, and there has to be levels to the family if it's going to be of this size. And I think they're doing a pretty good job with that, especially as of recent. So, for example, tonight they had Trent and Rocky Romero. They're the fall guys, so they're the guys Kenny was going to V trigger easily. They're there to be lackeys and cause confusion. Then you have kind of the middle layer, which is, I would say, like the Mark Davis. Probably like Brian Cage level, maybe the guys that were in the trios match tonight. And then you have the top level guys, the Okada, Fletcher, and Knight, and they kind of tiered those guys all well tonight. That they were all doing kind of their own thing, but you saw that in display, live on TV. So I thought they actually did a pretty good job. And we've criticized AEW in general of not having enough tiers over the years, like tiers of wrestlers. And I think that the Callis family is a microcosm of a great example of how they should structure that moving forward. So overall, I've been enjoying the Callis family at the past, 3 to 6 months, I guess you'd say, maybe in that time range. So, yeah,
good, yeah. Savage and 3 start. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
Is Okada really a top guy though? Like, is he?
He's a guy that you could have is like playing off. I think he does good playing off of Fletcher and who was tonight? It was Fletcher, and who else was that? Maybe it was Knight too. I can't remember, but. I mean, he's a guy that's at the top of the family. Yeah, I guess you'd say still, even if he's not treated as a main event guy in AEW at this point in his career. But, I think he's a number 3 on that list. Absolutely. But I think I would still put him in that tier, just the way he interacts with Fletcher in particular. So.
And feel free, guys. We don't normally do 3-person panels. Feel free to step on me if you've got a follow up to the other panelists. I like that. I want this to be free flowing. So don't bite your tongue and lose your point. Don't feel bad. By the way, Okada encourage people to go to PWTorch. We've got a new poll up today where you get to drag and drop all the announced SummerSlam matches in the order of most important to least important. In terms of what you think will draw. It's framed as what you think will help them sell tickets. So it's kind of interesting to see how Roman and Seth is doing compared to Oba and Brock, compared to Chad Gable and Penta are doing pretty well right now. So go check that out. But last week I ran a similar poll. We have a new polling setup where we can do drag and drop to do more sophisticated polling. And I asked readers to rank the top 15 AEW stars in order of who Tony Khan should prioritize pushing and promoting. It's all the men's division. We'll do the women's division soon. And first place, Will Ospreay. Second place, MJF. Very close. But speaking of Okada, the reason I bring it up is he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's not even in the top 10 out of 15. He's number 11. So slightly behind Jay White and Darby Allin, for instance. Barely ahead of Andrade, which is no shame. Kevin Knight, your pay-per-view heel challenger Sunday, in third to last place. With only Brody King and Jack Perry under him. Poor Jack Perry.
Yeah. Poor Jack Perry.
So, sort of. So, anyway, I just want to throw that out there, JB. When you say, is he, a top guy? I mean, our poll indicates maybe not.
Yeah, it's relative, though. Is he a top guy in AEW in general, or is he a top guy as like a patriarch of the Callis family? I think there's a little bit of a differentiation there.
Yep.
There is. I'm trying to break up a pen tonight. Did you guys see that on the I can't remember what?
Yes.
Whatever it was, that was horrendous. I mean, Aubrey should have counted to 3. There was no reason that she shouldn't have counted to 3.
Yeah.
In my written report, of course, I had to rant about this because that's my thing right now is pointing out bad pin breakups and all the bad habits and tropes that are going on. And one of the things, it's not just the weak hit him on the back, slap him on the back, and the ref stops his count, even though the pin is still there. The shoulders are down, the guy's on top. Why are you stopping your count? Why reward interference? So I think that's a dumb trope nobody is really thinking about, so they just do it. The other dumb thing people are doing is the only way for it to be dramatic is to wait for the last possible split second, which leaves no room for error. And when there is an error, as in tonight, it's way worse than whatever is to be gained from the previous 20 close breakups. Just break it up at 2. Break it up at 2.2 1/4. Don't wait till 2 7/8. Stop doing it. It's not worth it. This is the worst but it's barely the worst. There's been others that are almost as bad that in this year too. It's a WWE AEW thing. It's all over the place. So yeah, JB, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. And I think who was it? Mercedes last week, they actually did a really good job of moving up the tin. So credit to her on that. But yeah, I kind of point to
but JB, how good was that? Seriously, people go, what? Like some people are like, Wade, what? Who cares? No one's thinking about that. You know what? That when Mercedes did it, it was like it pulled me in. It made me buy in. The match is real. She had to use all her energy and force and like it was just. Whoa, she just plowed off that pit. It was so much better. That's all. It's things that are easily fixable, and when you fix them are going to be better. That's a reason to do them. The reason not to do it is not because it doesn't bother you because you're used to it. That's a dumb reason to defend something, is everyone's used to it even though it's bad. No, let's raise our standards and clean stuff up that can be cleaned up. It makes it a better overall experience. Sorry, JB, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it kind of in a similar vein, but different to a certain extent. A couple weeks ago at Beach Break, when it was Kenny Omega kicked out at 1 in the main event against MJF.
Yes.
I actually like that because it breaks up a formula or rhythm that people get so in tune to, or like you said, when people call, like when an announcer goes, oh, he's got him, he never actually has him. It's kind of that. Right. It breaks up the cadence. So I think things like that kind of attention to detail, I do like. And the Mercedes pin breakup is another example of that. So,
yep. Very good.
You can talk about the crowd at Beach Break that got him. That's what really like united the Yeah, definitely.
And it worked. And one of the reasons it worked is because they weren't doing it 10 times a match, or 10 times per show, or 10 times per week. There are so many things that work if you do them once every few months, but so many things that stop working and become tropes and worn out, including, by the way, getting nailed with someone's finisher and then popping up and hit your finisher, and then you both go down. Like, it's a cool spot when it's done like once a year for a huge main event match, maybe 2 or 3 times a year at most. But when you're doing it 4 times in a match, and it's the 4th time in a 5-hour pay-per-view that it's been done on a match, someone's got to step in and go, let's have some quality control, and let's pick our spots so it really counts. Because, kicking out at 1 that late in a match isn't particularly realistic, other than somebody just reaching down to the reserves at a big moment. It's the last adrenaline rush, but it shouldn't be something that just happens routinely to pop a crowd, because it's sort of like title changes in the late 90s and 2000s when they just went crazy after territory promoters were disciplined for decades, making it special for the most part. I mean, Memphis had title changes every 2 weeks, but, the world titles, for the most part, were spread out. And they cashed in on that, and then in sort of like inflation, where you're printing money and the value of the dollar goes down, the value of title changes went down, and they kept printing title changes. So anything that's cool and gets a pop should not just be reproduced and replicated over and over to a ridiculous degree. All right.
And then the pop gets less and less every time too. So it's diminishing returns. Yep.
And philosophically, I think there should just be, and I know you can pick apart wrestling matches in all kinds of ways, but you should strive for some semblance of consistency in terms of what hurts and for how long, and it violates that too. So there should always be a good reason to violate that, not just because you can and you think nobody ever thought of it before. Everyone thought of it. They just were, disciplined enough not to cave in. All right. This is a Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show on Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter. Here's, is this the latest copy that I just grabbed? No, that's last week's copy. I don't know where this week's copy is. But you can subscribe to the paper copy. A lot of people are going analog. People are burning CDs again and trying to own their music, and DVDs. People are thinking of opening DVD stores again because people are so upset with streaming services and all the raised prices and deleting content and all that. If you want to go analog, settle in and read a paper copy of something and not be bugged by your notifications and screen, go get the paper copy, or we encourage you to get a VIP membership. Also, you can get a digital copy of that newsletter, or a PDF to read on your tablet or your laptop, or get an all-text version of it to read on your phone with a VIP membership. Information on going VIP is pwtorchvipinfo.com. That page was just updated a few weeks ago with all the latest features and benefits and all the ways to sign up, all the different platforms it's on. You can use your Apple account. You can use your Patreon account to get linked up through Spotify. You can use a credit card, debit card, PayPal. Nearly 4 decades of archives. We love your support. We're a small business. We're not driven by SEO, AI, or big corporate. We're not, chasing down clicks. We're trying to just do a good, honest job in kind of an adult way, not driven by being in favoring one company over the other as sort of a rah-rah thing. which I think gets us some low ratings on podcasts when people like you should be saying only nice things about WWE or only nice things about AEW. But we love your support. So if you like our brand of coverage and how we approach things, one way to reward that and encourage more of it in the marketplace is, if you can afford it and you think you'll enjoy it and use it, upgrade to a VIP membership. pwtorchvipinfo.com. We are here to talk Dynamite, and there are many ways you can join us live in the chat. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we'll put more of those comments up to drive our discussion as we go forward. Also, you can email us, wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com, and you can also be a caller. The link to be a caller is in my TV report at PWTorch on tonight's Dynamite. That link changes with every show, so you got to go to my report to find it. But we invite you to join the conversation and turn this into a Brady Bunch screen of all kinds of talking heads. But speaking of talking heads, we've got a fun panel discussion here with Dennis Kline and JB joining me today. JB, welcome. Good to have you on our panel discussion. I think we only did this like one other time in the last couple of years.
Yeah. It's an honor to be part of this unique episode. So
sounds good. Tell people about your contributions to PWTorch, and then we'll throw to Dennis after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I write the hits and misses weekly for TNA. It usually comes out on Friday or Saturday. And then I also write the AEW pay-per-view primers. I'm actually going to run today or tomorrow for Redemption coming up on Sunday. And then I do a weekly podcast with Zach Clark for TNA called Destination Impact. And our episode, most recent episode dropped yesterday, where we actually talked quite a bit about the TNA, the Dark Side of the Ring documentary. Me and Zach caught up on that, and we shared similar feelings to you, Wade. I think when I listened to the flagship today. So
I've been reading my back issue stories because it's been decades since I've visited the story, and there's like the people who made the documentary did not read, and I would argue the top most immersive, the coverage that had the most access to everything that was going on. They didn't do their homework. I mean, it's there. It's, and yeah, it was a bit of a propaganda piece. I mean, congratulations to Jeff Jarrett for getting his story with a big budget put on the air, but it's not something I think the Dark Side of the Ring people should be proud of. It wasn't awful everywhere, but there were missing pieces and obviously some slanted things, and some that were just felt the Dixie Carter treatment just felt like sensationalized. Like, well, she didn't work with us, so we're just going to bury her. I don't know. JB, do you disagree with any of that?
No, I agree. And also, I didn't feel like it really, I didn't learn much. I didn't really dive that deep. I felt like it was pretty surface level, honestly. Mm-hmm. So I almost felt like it was kind of a waste of time, if I'm being perfectly honest, which is unusual because I really usually actually enjoy Dark Side of the Ring. They do a pretty good job normally. So kind of surprised there, but maybe they just didn't have the access. So they thought slant was the only way, but that's the only conclusion I can come to.
So that episode is available right now. Search PWTorch on your podcast app. That's the PWTorch Daily Cast feed. If you search PWTorch, you'll see the colorful logo pop up. The different colors represent different shows each day of the week with different themes, different co-hosts, or different pairs of hosts. And then there's also a charcoal gray logo, which is the PWTorch VIP free sample feed, which gives you free samples of VIP exclusive shows periodically. And within the Apple Podcast app, you can also use your Apple account to upgrade to unlock all the VIP shows on that feed. So that's a reason to search PWTorch on your podcast app right now. And then search Wade Keller if you haven't yet, and subscribe to the red and blue logo shows. All right, Dennis Kline, welcome to the other co-host chair. Good to have you. Introduce yourself. Tell people what you do for the Torch.
Oh, sure. Yep, I'm Dennis. I might be one of the reasons that people don't like the site. I write about good things with AEW and bad things with AEW. So, I write the AEW Rising and Fading Stars of the week. I try to take a positive look when I can. But I definitely can be very critical of the company, but it's the only company I watch. So I really, I wanted to watch, I watched them since the beginning, and they're not quite what I thought they would be when they started, but it's still pretty good. Still, I'm still pretty happy with them overall. They put on some of the best pay-per-views, around. So, I definitely like them. I think that a few pieces are missing right now, but it's going all right. But yeah.
Cool. Well, let's continue our conversation here on tonight's Dynamite. Oh, Adam Kidd says, go VIP, well worth it, and Wade is the best in the business. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Adam. Zach Barber can't believe I said something nice about Dixie Carter. Wow, Wade defending Dixie Carter is shaking my head. Zach, you can elaborate, but Dixie Carter was not, to any of my experience talking to anybody, the villain that she was like caricaturized to be. The sensationalized footage that was TV footage that was put in the background while they were talking about real life happenings felt unfair and sort of disqualifyingly deceptive. It was just dishonest.
Mhm.
Like, it was almost like, here's a behind the scenes camera of Dixie being just absolutely like unhinged. And they were talking, alleging about things that were behind the scenes, not noting, well, this was her playing a character on air. Like, so
definitely.
that's what I'm speaking out against, Zach, is my point. Zach Barber.
And I would say Dixie was she was like kind of overly nice to a certain extent, kind of manipulated by people who kind of, obviously, you know, she makes the hiring, but she wasn't just a wrestling person. So it was other people making the decisions that were, you know, her that ultimately was kind of the downfall. Granted, she should have ran a tighter ship, but you know, like you said, I don't think she was a villain by any means. So
ironically, I think the same thing that happened to Dixie and TNA is what happened to the Dark Side of the Ring producers in making the documentary. They got manipulated into doing some things, and now they're getting the heat, just like Dixie did. But yeah, I mean, Jeff's charming. I've interacted with him a lot over the decades. I like him. I think he is kind of like John Cena. He's great at reading a room and adapting to it, and being cordial and professional and engaging, and that gives him power to sometimes tell a slanted story. And we won't go off on TNA too much here, but since we do have a podcast on that you can delve into, and by the way, it's a VIP membership. You just jump back to 2002, 2003, like the back issues of the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter have cover stories on this. You can go to the yearly pages, do a search for TNA or Jarrett or whatever. You can find the cover stories and the editorials, interviews with Jerry Jarrett talking about this stuff. This the sourcing material on TNA in the back issues of the Torch during the early 2000s is unmatched, and apparently Darkside unaware in their research that there was actual real journalism in real time that would have given them some headlines to flash on the screen and some objective, multi-sourced. Anyway, I'm ranting too much about that. They did what they did. Standard Deviation says Jeff said they couldn't get many people to talk about it, and he could only give his side. I think there was an awareness there. He could only give his side. I mean, what he did is it's not his side if he's knowingly bearing somebody with propaganda. And that's what it came across to me as. It came across as an unfair, knowingly slanted view. And if Dixie didn't want to participate in it, that does not mean if you're making a documentary or if you're Jeff Jarrett and you're bitter at her, that you just have license to now, just distort things as badly as the end product to me seemed like it did.
Yeah, I mean, it's your job if you're going to decide to make the documentary to find a way to balance that. And, they say there's two sides of your story. Granted, there is times where one side's a lot more credible than the other, and you have to address that as well. You can't just say that these two things are the same and have to, as we've seen, I think, politics today to a certain extent as well. However, you can't just also say, well, no one else will do it, so we'll just do whatever, one side says and just take it, unabashedly and not fact check or not push back either. So, I mean, I think there's definitely a middle ground.
Yeah. Derek Mitchell said, how many times do I have to say it? Everyone thinks they're the hero in their own story. I agree Dixie wasn't that bad making her sound like the self-destruction of Ultimate Warrior in that video. It just came across as a hit piece. Pile Driver Pete said she definitely didn't know what she was doing. Nope. And like, if somebody doesn't know what they're doing and they trust other people who should know what they're doing, and they make as many boneheaded booking decisions or are out of touch with what the fans wanted, that's not Dixie's fault. That's the fault of the people she trusted and hired who sold her on the idea that your money is in our hands and we're going to turn a profit because we know what we're doing. And the people who Dixie put in charge of knowing what they were doing because they were wrestling people were awful at their jobs. They did a terrible job, and nobody seemed self-aware of all the mistakes that TNA made in booking and the presentation of the product. I mean, Dixie didn't have a bad idea and executed it. She trusted other people with her money who charmed her into believing they knew what they were doing and they just needed a chance. So, all right. I've been, that's too far off topic. Let's get back to Dynamite and some other comments. First of all, super chat here, since we're off track anyway. Derek Mitchell was a super chat, says just a follow up to the announcement that I made a couple months ago, meaning Derek brought this up and I read it. Seasons 1 to 3 of Dynamite are now streaming on Tubi. So that's a free app on your smart TV. It has a ton of stuff on it. So if you're tired of paying for a service that also includes commercials, you can get a lot of stuff on Tubi without paying for it with commercials. And And it says there's a dedicated 24/7 Watch AEW channel available on the platform. Those are cool if you just want something on in the background. TNA's been doing that for years, and I think it's cool. Sometimes I throw that on, and it's like, whoa, there's the Nashville Coliseum and whatever, all the things that were going on during that era. So appreciate the additional information, Derek, on that one. Derek had another super chat. Actually, Zach had a super chat. So let's throw this up. Zach Barber. This pay-per-view honestly feels like In Your House Redemption. Better quality matches, but still filler and thrown together on 2 weeks' notice. And then standard deviation with a quip adds, I'll watch AEW Recognition in under 3 hours. I think this bit went on for a while with people. Oh, yeah. Standard deviation that says In Your House, AEW Remembrance. I've been doing it not as a bit. I just couldn't remember if it was Redemption or Retribution or whatever. There's been so many. I don't know why it is there's so many R words, multi-syllable R words that are good pay-per-view or decent wrestling pay-per-view names, but it's not a branded pay-per-view we've gotten used to, so we're all stumbling over it. But it is kind of an In Your House. I mean, it's gonna be a lot longer than In Your Houses.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And honestly, it's on paper. I think I was talking to Rich Fan about this on the VIP show, Everything with Rich and Wade. And I think with Jason too. The lineup, I think it was more with Jason now that I think about it. But Jason Paul on the flagship yesterday, a week early. So those of you who set your clocks to listen to him every 3 weeks on the flagship, he's a week early. Greg Parks will be with me next Tuesday. So check that out. Our Blue Logo show, it's not on YouTube. You have to subscribe to the Blue Logo podcast. Search Wade Keller. We did like 2.5 hours, including a VIP after show. Talked a lot about the AEW pay-per-view. And I think on paper, it looks like it's going to be a really good show to just kick back and enjoy some wrestling without the pressure of a bunch of big storyline developments or built-up matches. I'm not trying to sell it. It's just like I'm not dreading a pay-per-view that's sort of like it's good matches. There's not pressure to deliver an epic payoff to a bunch of epic storylines. It just kind of looks good on paper. Yeah. You want to add to that, JB?
Yeah, I would say too. There are significant storyline aspects still. I mean, Tekla Willow, that actually could mean a lot because there could definitely be a title change there. Also, Bucks versus Mox and Ospreay. I imagine that's going to advance the story somehow. Yep. And then as we talked about Omega, Kevin Knight. I mean, with the interaction with the Callis family, that could all. Granted, the outcome's not that much in doubt, but we could advance the story to a certain extent. And I ultimately think this pay-per-view is probably supposed to be built around Omega taking the belt off MJF. But I think injuries kind of accelerated that. So then they kind of had already announced this pay-per-view, so they had to fill it the best way they can see possible. So I think MJF Omega probably sells the pay-per-view by itself. Honestly, it is a top match. So
has there been any reports of MJF having an injury, like resting an injury or getting minor surgery or treatment?
I heard this is obviously, I can't confirm this by any means, but he had been having knee problems for a while and he's been in quite a bit of pain. I don't know if he's had any like minor surgery, but they said he's probably still factored into all implants in some capacity. So, yeah. I was just wondering if losing the belt, going through a match, losing the title early was in order for him to rest his knee so he could be ready for All In. And I think that would explain it. And then if we were going, why is Kevin Knight in the main event and why are they building a pay-per-view around a secondary challenger? Well, sometimes stuff happens, I mean, and this would be a case where you give them, give Tony Khan a little slack. Another super chat from Derek Mitchell. Thank you, Derek. Thanks to anybody who super chats. Obviously, it's very much appreciated. The Jets heel persona doesn't work for me. It reminds me of LeBron after joining the Heat in 2010. He tried to be the villain, but it never felt authentic. The same goes for the Jet. It feels forced. I very much viewed LeBron as a villain when he was on the Miami Heat. So I don't know. He was authentically a villain to me, at least. So
I have mixed feelings on LeBron. I'm still. And every day that goes by, they doesn't announce where he's going. I think a lot of people are like, I was gonna like him because he's a legend, and now I'm getting irritated by all this.
There was a report today that he was angered that Adam Silver was pressuring him to make a decision, so now he's putting it off a week. When he kind of already knows where he's going. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I said it to Rich Fan on everything, the VIP show called Everything, that I didn't want him on the team. If the Wolves do well, I want it to not be where it's all about LeBron. I want it to be about Cat and LaMelo and Jaden McDaniel and Rudy and just let it be about the team we built and we're loyal to, not some guy. That said, I've warmed up to the idea because he's a perfect fit, as I talked to Jason Paul about on the flagship yesterday. We have no power forward because we traded two of them away or cut one. I guess trade them both away. And he'd fit and he'd be good. And he'd be a good mentor for LaMelo, who's kind of immature and he's super smart and he can still go. I mean, so ultimately, if he chose the Wolves, I'll be happy. But if he doesn't, I'll certainly be okay with that too, even if it hurts our chances of beating San Antonio and OKC in a tough Western Conference, and Denver too. I kind of want to pretend they're not still good, but they kind of are. All right. Anyway, I think I got to the super chats. I wanted to honor those because obviously they deserve to be moved to the front of the line. Okay, so we talked about the Omega Moxley Ospreay dynamic. I did not like the fact that you had Okada and Fletcher with an inadvertent move, then arguing in 1 hour, and then an hour later doing the same thing. It's not a huge deal, but I don't know. I just think one should stand out. I don't think they needed to do both, even though they both sort of made sense. I'm also been kind of critical of CM Punk and Cody going down that road, because it's just like, can we just have two guys who respect each other, who are huge stars in their 40s, who have not had a singles match anywhere near this with this spotlight on them? Just be different than what's going on with Seth and Roman and went on with Punk and Roman, and just like, it's okay. Like, you're not going to sell more tickets because CM Punk and Cody are being jerks to each other. Like, that's not going to sell any tickets. It's not. So just not hit the reset button, kind of create a baseline where, yes, it's possible for two people who are friends, just have a match, because the world title and their star power and the pride of victory and the pride of having a win on your record and not wanting a loss is enough at this caliber. I kind of feel like I'd like to see that more often. But the inadvertent, knocking somebody down, it only happens when friends are teaming. And then it always is an overreaction to the reality of it. Cody had time to review the tape and is still overreacting to it. Although you could argue, I don't want to go on a WWE topic. You could argue Punk might have slyly done it on purpose, or Cody would have reason to think that because it's Punk. But in the AEW side of things, I think Fletcher overreacted, but especially on the babyface side of things, it was obvious what happened. I mean, Mox was right there. It wasn't like, it was just, I want Moxley to be smart. I want him to understand, to be street smart enough to know that just happened. It wasn't on purpose. The argument is, we could have pulled back. I mean, I don't know, really. It didn't seem like he could have. And what would be the incentive to hit him? It just felt tropey to me. JB, what'd you think?
Yeah, so the first one with Fletcher and Okada, at least that's between two heels, so I can understand Fletcher being like a petulant jerk. That seems like his personality, which I think somewhat works. Yeah. And for the second time with Ospreay Omega, the one thing that I'm glad is that the friendly fire nonsense, it didn't directly lead to the confrontation between Ospreay and Omega. It was more the Omega disrespect to Mox that I think Ospreay somewhat had a problem with. Right. But obviously, that being said, I also wish they would just put a moratorium on friendly fire for a long while anyway, just because I would just like to see a different approach, regardless of whether it can work or not in a vacuum. I just would like to see a little bit more creativity. And it just so played out at this point. So I think it almost worked in both circumstances tonight, but in general, I just want to see less of it to begin with. So
I think you make good points in the sense that, Moxley is, he's not a heel. He's not a face. His guys are heels. My God, what Pac and Claudio did, that's that was very heelish, and he associates with them. And I'm not a fan of this incongruency with that. But you could understand Mox maybe he should be street smart, but could also imagine him overreacting to something because he's kind of tightly wound in that way. Even though he's very zen in that opening promo segment, in ostensibly so, but actually not. So the Omega Ospreay thing was sort of a reaction to the friendly fire, at more than the friendly fire itself. It was so it was different enough, where maybe you could say you'll let that go. But to me, it showed we're going to get that. We're going to get Ospreay and Omega. That's the start of something. And when you have the age discrepancy and the passing of the torch and the match quality that's going to come out of this, I'm still rooting for a wrestling promoter and wrestlers, a booker and wrestlers themselves, just have the confidence to tell a different story. That's more sports-based. The title matters. Our legacies matter. We're big stars. And let fans just enjoy both of them without having to just go, come on. One of you or both of you are being jerks or being unreasonable. I just don't think that has to be an element of all of them. And we have another chance for that to happen. And they're just going to give in. And it's not going to make any difference. Nobody's going to buy or not buy the pay-per-view because Omega and Ospreay are having heated words with each other. that's not what's selling the show. And so at some point, just pull back a little bit and don't do the trope. That would be my argument. Standard Deviation in the chat says the inadvertent trope works best when there's pre-existing tension that makes you wonder if it was ostensibly an accident, if it wasn't an actual accident. Yes, and that's the thing. They've lost sight of the context,
The reason.
that justifies it, and they just do it anyway. And it doesn't like I don't know that Mox should feel like it would be done on purpose. Cody, you could go, well, maybe Punk's laying on his friendship too thick, and he is trying to trigger me a little bit to get in my head. But then you got to tell the story with sophistication. Dennis, your thoughts on all this?
So I agree with they're doing it too much, and it's obviously much better when you build it up. You can go back and watch Okada and Takeshita when that broke down. That was like Okada started to hit Takeshita on purpose. Like you could tell that's what was going on. That was the story they were telling. But with this, I don't know. I think it might be more mind games from Mox. I think Mox wants like Ospreay to go in there and destroy Omega in a sense. Like I think he wants to rile him up and have a reason for Ospreay to unleash, the Tiger Driver 99. I mean, that's always the thing that they always want to push is he going to unleash that? And I think that this could be mind games from Mox. He's not really bothered. He doesn't care. He's just he's trying to rile Ospreay up. Yeah.
And do you think the way that played out with Mox getting in Omega's face and then Ospreay getting in the middle of it and then that leading into, do you think that it is consistent with what you just described there, which is, Mox actually is a mastermind here, and he doesn't really believe he was hit on purpose. He instead is seeing that as an opportunity to spark something in Ospreay that he thinks will help him win.
Yeah, because I think if he thought he was really hit, that Mox, the character, would hit back. Like if he thought that someone was actually attacking him, he would hit back. You even see him, he like points at his head and he's like, I'm watching you. Like basically trying to tell Omega, and then that's when Ospreay jumps up. But I think that this is a mind game with Mox. And Mox has Ospreay buying in. Did you notice Ospreay opening the ropes for Mox tonight when Mox came into the ring? Like there was these little subtle hints. He's under the Mox spell.
On a 1 to 10 scale, Dennis, and then JB, you're gonna answer this next. I hope I will offer you the chance to. On a 1 to 10 scale, how satisfied do you think you'll be with a payoff to the Mox Ospreay dynamic?
Probably about a 7.
Okay. How about you,
8,
JB?
Yeah.
I would say 7-8 in that range.
Yeah.
Yeah,
guardedly optimistic, and I am too.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I probably would have said 8.
As the weeks go, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, yeah, go ahead. Yep.
As the weeks go on, I'm starting to think the incongruency in the Death Riders might actually be intentional in the sense I think it's possible Ospreay could go full heel after All In. I think they want him to have the big face moment at All In, and like Dynamite after, he could go full blown heel. And then it's almost like, you know what I mean? You start looking back and you start seeing, he's been the heel the entire time, but he's been trying to maintain that mask and kind of mirage until he didn't have to anymore. And then he's a true guy. So
I think that is in play.
Yeah.
I think as you're watching this, I think if you're not highly suspicious of it, but if you're watching, you're going, well, he doesn't seem to have a problem with Claudio hitting Brody from behind with the belt, which happened like 3 episodes ago. He doesn't have a problem with Pac and Claudio attacking, two baby faces backstage who you aren't, you're not rooting to get attacked like that. I mean, Copeland and Christian didn't do anything to him. So, he's not speaking up. And it's like, we're kind of living in a world where if you're not speaking up, you're kind of complicit in a lot of ways. And that's kind of where Ospreay's coming across. So, yeah.
Yeah. If like to open the show that Mox came in and said, there's no tension in this room, when obviously there's inherently tension in the room. It's showing that he's aware and he wants to make it known to Omega and then Ospreay, and that they kind of acknowledge it as well. And to the audience, they're signaling that to the audience at home. So
definitely.
I think it's fun seeing AEW and WWE both do something kind of similar at the same time. That is the last week's newsletter cover story that I wrote. I was writing about CM Punk and Kenny Omega winning top titles, and then how both of their challengers are younger than them. Cody is in his 40s, but still quite a bit younger than Punk, and then Ospreay obviously younger than Omega, and how that dynamic is playing out. And with Punk and Cody, they're more equals because Punk took all those years off, and Cody's a legacy wrestler with his dad and all that. But then with Omega and Ospreay, it's more of is it a passing of the torch moment? There's a lot you can tell with that story. And you got Seth and Roman too as the thing, and Okada and Fletcher, where there's intramural or friendship battles over belts and pride, and how they're all happening at the same time, and they're all kind of being handled differently. And I think I don't come September, it'll be kind of fun to look back and just go, all right, who was less tropey? Even when we thought they were being tropey, it actually was something that was well plotted out and sophisticated, and there were hints dropped, and there was a payoff in the end. And they showed us that they were trying to do a higher level of something that has sort of become a cliche. And I wish I could say that I trust Punk and Cody to be the best at that, but I actually think, as much as I have issues with portrayal of Moxley as neither a babyface or a heel, and I philosophically disagree with that across the board, that should be a thing very almost ever. There's something and it goes back to Black Bolt Combat Club and trying to, and even going back further, whenever Brian Danielson tried to turn heel, and it's just like, no one's gonna boo. No one thinks you're a bad dude. No one's gonna buy it. So stop trying. With Moxley, it does seem like he could be somebody kind of playing mind games, being manipulative, and there is an end game. And if that end game, once we find out what it is, and then we look back and go, all these instances, the opening promo where it came out and what he did tonight in the main event, if it all falls into place and you can put a great video together showing the path to the payoff, I'll love it. And so, it's kind of fun to see two bookers kind of going at it at the same time, whether they're watching each other's product or not, I don't know. But for us who are watching it all, or I am, it's fun to compare similar storylines. As far as turning him heel, Sadler Version 3 wants to know, would Ospreay be booed right now? Is there a way, JB, to get him to be booed? It's kind of like Daniel Bryan. I mean, or Bryan Danielson. People don't want to boo him, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, say the Dynamite after All In, for whatever reason, he just lands like 50 hidden blades to the back of Kenny Omega's neck. It just gets rid of the goofy charm. It just becomes kind of like an arrogant, maybe changes his style a little bit, but he already is somewhat changing style a little bit. So that kind of leads itself more to a heel role as well. And just kind of takes that away. I absolutely think he could get booed more so than Kenny, actually, in my opinion, just within the AEW fan base in general. So,
Sarah Aviation says, I hope Ospreay turns on Mox before the pay-per-view, and Mox is proud. There is that possibility, too. And turning on Mox, I don't think you can clarify, Sarah Aviation, I don't think you're saying Ospreay turns heel on babyface Moxley, but Ospreay says enough is enough, Mox, and I stand for something, and you don't, and I've got to break away. You've pushed me too far. Bobo Man, by the way, says, I'm not really an Ospreay. It really wouldn't take much for me to boo him. So there's a possibility there.
I'm with him.
Yeah. I think Sadler makes a good point. I mean, that could work easily as well, too, if Ospreay stands up for himself, but kind of becomes a different type of baby face. That would kind of explain itself as well. So,
Yep. Okay, I'm posting the color code here because apparently there's a typo in my on my report if you want to call into the show. So I just posted it if you want to call in directly. Sean Plichta says, I liked Ospreay a ton before this whole angle started. And Adam Kidd says, I could boo him. Will Ospreay, John Cena, Will Cena has been nauseating the last 2 weeks. Dennis, what do you think about? Go ahead, JB. Yeah, what do you think about Ospreay's persona?
Well, people keep saying that. Maybe that is the point, though, and that would make sense. Like they're trying to make us slightly like Ospreay less and less as the weeks go on, but he'll still get his hometown pop. But then they go full blown right after that. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I think that he's headed towards being a heel. I think that there's been little hints here and there, and he's sliding his way there. And it's in the end, I think we're gonna look back and, if this was a time when WWE used to make all those videos, there would be, a My Way kind of video made out of him turning heel kind of thing. So, yeah.
Who are the baby faces lined up then? Is Mox one of them at that point, officially babyface? And does all these dastardly actions by his cohorts change, or he breaks from them? Like, does Kyle Fletcher turn babyface, or Okada in order? Like, where do you line up the depth chart? Because they're pretty. You've got Swerve and Hangman and Omega. Darby, trying to think who else. Takeshita, I guess. Jay White, Andrade. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's a decent depth chart if you were to turn. Yeah. My inclination would say you don't have enough top baby faces if you turn Ospreay, but maybe you do.
Well, you put him against Mox right off the bat, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the first match. You have that, and maybe AEW does something they don't do, and someone has a title match 2 times in a row. Like it would be shocking. Like they almost never do that. Maybe Omega comes back and Omega gets a rematch against Ospreay, and that's when he fully turns. Maybe he wrestles a normal match and All In, turns heel at the end, or the next night, and then he wrestles a full blown match where he's a heel against Omega. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it's definitely set up there for a little while that you could do that and get away with it. And remember, Swerve is not a face anymore, right? He's a heel, even though he hasn't been around for a while. So he's definitely not going to be part of that.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
Adam Kidd says he's a natural heel, in my opinion. Sadler Vision 3 goes, yes, Ospreay's kind of goofy, but in an annoying way. Zach Barber says it can't be Hangman Wade. He can't challenge for the title. Yeah, but he could feud with him if Ospreay lost the title, or it could be a non-title match. But yeah, I'm just thinking of the balance. Most it's not just babyface depth to challenge Ospreay, even though I phrase it that way. It's just babyface depth in general if you turn Ospreay. My inclination is keep Ospreay babyface and clean up what the chat is pointing out is a little bit off-putting, irritating about him, because I think there's something really special about him being a face and staying a face for a very long time, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because it sounds kind of exciting and would be add a little pizzazz and unexpected twist to somebody who might be a little milquetoast and goofy. I'd rather fix that as a baby face than add to the turns in AEW. I've been advocating for like 2 turns in the top half or top third of the card in any
It's
company.
valid.
Yeah, I just resist it, even if it might spark some interest, just because I'd like a moratorium on turns, because it'll, in theory, be exciting in the moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean JB, I predict it won't happen. I'm just saying I'm not going to advocate for it.
Normally, I would agree with you, but I think the reason people might be slightly turning against Ospreay is intentional. That's a story they've been trying to tell for like a 6-month period now.
Yeah.
So normally I would agree with you, but I feel like this has a lot of legs and foundation behind it. So it makes a lot more sense than just doing it for the sake of the baby faces purely failing, when it's because maybe if they're trying to get him slowly disliked over time. I mean, that was maybe ultimately the goal as opposed to a forced reaction, which I think
it's scary if it's, I shouldn't say scary. It's unfortunate if that's not the case, and we think it might be.
Agreed.
Yeah. Like Willow.
It was like or when we turned MJF face, and that was a debacle. This could be another debacle when they turned, if they turn Ospreay face and it fails, or I'm sorry, heel and it fails.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Let's talk about the Willow Tekla segment with Mick Foley. I thought Mick Foley was good. Did you guys think so in his role?
Yeah,
he didn't we didn't talk too much. I'm a hardcore hero. I see a similarity with me and Willow, but she has nicer teeth. Little quips about she's got nicer teeth. It was just, there's been times where Mick Foley has been too selfie facing in a way that felt like it was meant to put himself over, because look at how selfie facing I am. And he didn't go down that road. It was, and he also didn't over talk about his past. But he is a hardcore legend. He has a past to talk about. And I really enjoyed him understanding he's a star and a legend, but it's his job to facilitate building a match and adding to that, but not drawing attention away from it. And I actually thought he did a really good job there. And it was, I think, him at his best. And vast majority of Mick's career, I'm a huge fan of. But there's, been moments here and there where you could imagine, okay, I'm getting paid and I'm Mick Foley, and you lean too hard into talking about yourself. And I felt that there was some discipline and maturity or wisdom to, how he did. And I liked aspects of the segment. So I want to delve into that a bit and talk about what worked and what didn't work. Dennis, I'll start with you this time. Your thoughts on Mick Foley first.
Oh, yep. I definitely thought Mick was good. Definitely good. He didn't overstay his welcome, and he knew what he was there to do this time. So, and he didn't go overly cheery. He didn't try to get the cheap pop like he likes to do. So, yeah, for sure.
So I thought Mick did a good job as well. The 2 appearances I thought have been pretty good, because he gave a rub to Fletcher the first time, kind of being a foil, and then he kind of gave a rub to Willow tonight, kind of talking about comparisons between the two. So he wasn't there to get attention for himself. He actually was getting wrestlers over, which should be the goal.
Yeah. So, JB, how did Willow and Tekla do? Grade them.
Yeah, I would say it was okay to pretty good, honestly, for the 2 of them. I think Tekla's been better than Willow in recent months. But I think overall, Tekla did a good job calling out Willow's overly cheery nature. But I thought that at the same time, Willow had a pretty good response by saying Tekla talks so big because she feels so small, and that it's kind of more of a facade. So kind of calling out the fakeness in the toxic act as well. So I thought they had honestly pretty good responses to each other. And it wasn't tearing anyone down too much. It was kind of more just building the match, which I think is what they should stick to.
And Dennis.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually really liked it a lot. It's probably one of Willow's better performances, which she needed to deliver right before a world title match that everyone seems to think she's going to win, which she also then promised that she was going to win, which is, baby faces shouldn't do that unless they're going to win. But I did like, I laughed and I thought of, I think you were talking about this on the Fix, Wade, with Todd, Tekla calling her out for that demeanor. How it seems a little off. It doesn't seem real. It seems fake. Like she's actually kind of not that person. But Tekla, I love Tekla. I think that she has been a great champion. I hope that if she does lose the title, that she's stays in the title scene, because too many times when someone loses a title in AEW, they're gone from the title scene, i.e. Darby Allin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Zach Barber goes, Tekla is okay. Willow is still a work in progress on the mic. The breathing thing is distracting. I thought Willow was toned down, where normally, like, if the range of emoting on a 1 to 10 scale, like if it like 5 is average, like Willow's usually like at 22, like, and nobody else is above 10 in this business. Like she's like, there's 1 to 10, everyone, and then there's Willow at 22. And I thought she pulled it back to like 13. So she's still more than anybody else in the business. Just there's kind of a, whatever. But this was, if she had never over emoted way off the scale before, I don't know that I would have thought much of it tonight. So if that was deliberate, or maybe it's when she's interacting with 2 other people, it worked better. But this, I thought she was likable and largely effective in countering Tekla. And Tekla's really good. I think Tekla mostly carried the segment. Yeah, go ahead, JB.
No, I thought it really worked for them to play off Mick Foley for both of them, because it kind of brought down Tekla's weirdness a little bit to a certain extent, and it brought down Willow's, overly cheerfulness, which is good because it kind of met them both, met each other right in the middle, which is good for building up the match. So I thought Mick actually played a pretty big part in that.
Comment from Darrell Freeman in the chat says, I must say they need to get people to go over what Willow says, because this promo wasn't it. I know they're going to let her win on Sunday, but I don't think they should. Did anything stand out to you that she said that she shouldn't say, as Darrell is pointing out?
No, I not off the top of my head. I can't.
I don't think too offensive, really. I mean,
yeah,
I agree that was the best promo I've ever heard. I mean, no, not by any means, but I didn't find it offensive. I mean, it was kind of just check the boxes that you would go do for a go home show, in my opinion.
Yeah. So if Darrell, if you're still there and watching, you made that comment a little bit earlier. Maybe give us some details on it. I was looking at, I was going to bring up my report and kind of look at, Willow said it's great to see Foley. It was nice to see you face-to-face Tekla instead of with a cheap shot from behind, which was a good line. There's only one match between her and her dream come true, and that's Tekla beating her for the title. She said, I'm only interested in the AEW title match. Tekla mocked her. And then she said, you're made of rainbows and chirping birds and sunshine, which was funny. But I'm not buying your crap about smiling. You bottled up your feelings and it's boiling poison inside. I'm going to release that poison. Willow says, between us is I've never had to convince anyone who I am. And her toxic act is all a facade. She said she talks big because she feels small. She has a swagger that helped her win 2 belts. But and then they kind of argued and butted chests, and then that's when Foley got between them. And then Willow just said, Tekla, you're the one acting like a dumb bitch now, using her words against her. And I'm trying to think if there's anything. Willow tried to get it, and then it was just kind of the physical stuff. So yeah, I want to do that because I wanted to. Was there something I missed? And I think I'm pretty thorough in everything that was said in my report. Mm-hmm. Nothing there jumps out to me as like, ooh, I would have taken that out, or what was she thinking? So yeah, let me know, Darrell, what you mean if you're still listening.
I mean, the only thing I think would be that the bitch comment was out of bounds for Willow, but I mean, I'm sure she's cursed before on the air, like, or at least to use that word before. I feel like everyone in AEW has used that word. Tekla's the only one that's got it in over, like, and it's actually funny. Well, I mean, Okada, I guess.
Yeah. And I think Willow saying it wasn't her saying it. It was, exactly. I'm going to get under your skin by going, what you accuse me of is actually what you what you're being now. You're projecting. And I thought that's like clever. Use a heel's words against him. The fact that it was out of character for her and she'll probably never say it again is kind of what made it for me work. Standard Deviation said Willow comes across as more down to earth when she's opposite of a larger than life talker like Tekla. Totally. I mean, that's less Willow. Less is more with Willow. It just everything. It just dial it way down, and she has this natural charm and charisma and likability. But when it's just let me just add sugar and spice to everything I say and turn up the it just I don't know. Yeah, it's just.
Well, her in-ring is what got her over, right? Like, so her natural charm and her natural everything is what got her over. It has been the mic work that has held her back.
And I would even argue her, smiling and waving when a ring entrance, I'd dial that back 60% too. Like it feels performative. It feels over the top. I mean, it helped get her character over. And then after a while, I was like, okay, this is a lot. Like when I watch Willow, I'm like, it's like all good stuff, but it's a lot. And it's just, less is more. It just feels like, like as a kid, you would sprinkle like sugar on the cornflakes because you wanted it sweeter. And she just like takes the lid off and just like shakes the whole sugar container on top. It's like, it just ruins it, ruins something that could be good, which is a little more discipline. Powder for Pizza said, I like Tekla. She's going to piss on her clouds. LOL. I thought that was funny. Honestly, I thought they put a good segment together. Zach Barber goes, give Willow credit. At least she's trying. I mean, not everybody gets credit for trying if they're not getting better at obvious errors over time. Like a lot of people to try things that they should adjust and augment and try to get better instead of just try. Anyway, Powder Repeat said, popular opposites usually work well, such as this case. Interesting comparison. Derek Mitchell going back to the 1980s. Willow is like Magic Johnson, always smiling. Speaking of the 80s, reach out and touch someone, Kenny Omega. You guys know that phrase?
I do.
No. Song?
JB? It was a jingle before the government broke up AT&T into smaller companies, and it was commercials to encourage people to make long distance phone calls. Reach out and touch someone look it up on YouTube. It was all over television in the 70s and early 80s to encourage people, because AT&T had a monopoly on long distance calls and they were making a killing. And they would just give these sappy commercials of a mom sitting at home bored, and then the daughter would call. They do an actual split screen, and the daughter would be like, "Hi, mom," and the mom would just brighten up, and then they'd have this sappy jingle: "Reach out and touch someone." And it's clearly Omega knew that when he said that, and I'm like, okay, it's fun for me, but like Kenny, like I know I make I Love Lucy references, but that's in reruns constantly. Like you can't. If you're not watching I Love Lucy, you're missing out on one of the top 5 sitcoms of all time, and it's ageless and it's wonderful. And you should don't just watch new stuff. The old stuff is good. Old movies are good too. Old commercials, old jingles, like you shouldn't assume knowledge on that. And Kenny kind of did, but it's very Kenny. I totally did that.
And it kind of works because honestly, I wasn't aware, but I didn't go, well, that's completely out of place. But now that you mentioned it, I think it makes, I get it, but I do play weekly trivia, so I'll have to remember that fact though. So
yeah. Everyone look it up. It's a catchy jingle, but it's the commercials were sappy. Maybe not as much as Willow's promos, not counting this week, but yeah. Bobo Man says it sucks hearing this because Willow's my favorite wrestler on the entire AEW roster. She is the reason I tune in. Well, we want her like, and I last week on the Fix, we were talking about Willow, and is she like full of herself and that's what comes across in her promos, or is she just sort of unself-aware of, and again, it's technically subjective that she's too much, but I think it's sort of unanimous also that she's too much. So I'm not going to qualify that too much, but I did ask around, and somebody's very specific in going, she's really nice and she's just not aware. Like someone just kind of needs to kind of go like let's dial it down 70% and you'll be better off. So this isn't a case, if you're a big fan of hers, where we are burying her out of malice or thinking she can't be a star. The attention given to her is because and I think others believe there's a star there that can be a real asset to AEW, but someone needs to just pull back on it, and then she can be a bigger star instead of having people go, whoa, what's going on here? Why doesn't anyone talk to her about this? Standard Deviation said, I think she's sweet and nerdy.
No, I agree. I think in the last 8 months, I've done a couple co-hosting with you, and I was defending Willow about 8 months ago, and then it's gotten too much for me. So I was defending her like that close ago, and it has not changed around. She's been just as over the top, and I mean, apparently not over the top, apparently just herself, but it's okay. Yeah, it's not a bad thing on her personally at all. Like if she's that kind of person, that's amazing. Good on her. I'm happy for her that she is that happy. But yeah, it is just a lot.
Yes. Pickens 42 or 612, excuse me, in the chat goes, it's nice that Willow has quit her part-time job as the Virtue Signaling Townhome Owners Association president. Much than her
much better than before her injury.
Much better than before her injury. Yeah, that's interesting comparison. Durrell says when Tekla was bringing up some points that felt right about how her smile is fake and it's not the real her, she just came off wrong. That kind of proves Tekla right. Okay, so that was Durrell who earlier said he didn't like it, and that's why. So maybe Tekla's criticism, Willow validated a bit, I guess is where Durrell's coming from. Well, JB, jump in. Yep.
I think Willow essentially was saying, also you're fake back. You put on this toxic persona, but you're a coward too. So I don't think she was, even necessarily just that saying Tekla was wrong about Willow, even though obviously she probably herself believes she's wrong because that, I think she likes herself as a person, but she was just kind of pushing back. Well, your whole persona is fake, and I'm going to expose that by defeating you, the coward, at Redemption to take the title off of you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Standard Deviation in the chat says, I didn't like Willow saying your act is a facade right after Tekla accused Willow's smile of being fake. Essentially, it's no, you're fake. No, you're fake. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I think one's like a fake personality, one's like a fake tough guy persona that translates to the wrestling ring too.
Yeah.
One-on-one comparison.
I think that's a good clarification. Standard Deviation said, great closing line, the application of the opponent's catchphrase against them. It wasn't a closing line. Well, it may have been a closing line, but the segment went on a while with some chest bumping and Mick Foley getting between them. I like the microphone shot, like hiding behind Mick and then that. But like Willow, I would say Willow probably oversold a padded microphone. I guess if it hit the larynx or something, she might, have gone down hard and it would have been tough to get up.
Well, what the thing with AEW and doing too many things one time in there, Kevin Knight showed you it doesn't really hurt. He took one straight in the throat, it looked like earlier from Fletcher. So, but no, I definitely like the when she was like ducking behind Foley and then she popped her with the mic. Yeah, it popped me. I was like, oh, that was good. I like that.
What would you rather take, though, a padded microphone or an empty shopping cart?
Empty shopping cart being rolled at me from 4 feet away.
All day.
Yes. Well, let's talk about Painmaker next, but we have a super chat from Derek Mitchell, so let's prioritize that. Did you know Sting was 31 when he defeated 42-year-old Ric Flair for the NWA World Title in 1990? I was front row in Baltimore for that match. It's interesting to compare Ospreay, who's 33, and Kenny Omega, who's 42, heading into All In. Interesting, yeah. That's one of my favorite wrestling moments. Was that crowd in Baltimore? I could talk about it for a while, but I flew out there because kind of word on the street pre-internet was it's going to be a title change. Sting was this fast rising star, Obafemi-esque in a way, where like, whoa, there's something here. Let's capitalize on it. And Ric Flair was still, at the tail end of his prime, but could carry Sting to great matches. Sting had great spring in his legs for a guy that size, and basically, it was, people think AEW and WWE is like this partisan warfare between fanboys and fangirls who are just like, it's my company and everything else sucks about the other. The partisanship, it was like that in the WWF and NWA too. NWA represented the old territories. Yes, Ted Turner bought it, but he's trying to hold up wrestling integrity and tradition, and Vince McMahon's ruining everything with the WWF. And then you had WWF fans who were more new, generally speaking, didn't worry about work rate as much, but liked the colorful characters. They were younger. All these things. Sting was going to be the guy who was both, because Ric Flair made him look better than he was in the ring, and he was super athletic and young, and he was going to be WCW's answer to Hulk Hogan and become the next big thing. And it would allow all those WWF fans to start watching WCW, but then they would see how much better the wrestling was with the Midnight Express and trying to think of all the stars. But nevertheless, it was, so the idea was he'd be the guy. And then when Sting wasn't against Ric Flair, suddenly everything about Sting fell apart. He couldn't cut promos. He couldn't work a match with anyone but Ric Flair. That was more than barely passable. That's overstating things a bit, but not a ton. And he just wasn't as polished at the more superficial aspects that Hulk Hogan was. He just wasn't a ring. Hogan was a genius in the ring, not in terms of like the work rate that hardcore fans wanted, but in terms of pacing and crowd reaction and milking things. And so it was supposed to be a passing of the torch at the beginning of the 90s, summer of 1990. That was going to be historically significant. And here I'm talking about it all these decades later, but it didn't work out for WCW the way they wanted. And Sting got hurt climbing the cage. All kinds of, different things happened to derail things. And then should we do Lex or should we do Sting? It was the Batista Cena thing or whatever. You can use different comparisons, or Bret and Michaels. And so we're going through that and that indecision. So it was an amazing atmosphere in that old arena. I had a chance in the late 80s and mostly early 90s to go to a ton of really good wrestling arenas that are now torn down. But Baltimore doesn't have a major league sports team that raised a building to build a new one. That's still there. It's just remodeled with a new facade.
Yes, it is.
But that was an amazing night. A really, really, really fun, really, really fun time to be front row. So anyway, there's my little sharing that experience.
But I totally agree. Like I grew up in like I'm from Maryland, so I've seen tons of places in Baltimore. So in my area, it was definitely kind of a struggle between the two, and there was like a little bit of a war, and it was WWF was fake, and NWA was where the real wrestling was. That was what I was taught as a little kid growing up. Like
NWA, we wrestle. That was their motto.
Exactly.
Not we're the best wrestle, but we wrestle. Yes.
Yeah. So no, I agree, and Baltimore Arena is still here. I think WWF still does shows out of Baltimore Arena. AEW has not. They go to there's a campus that has a smaller place, so they go to that one that's newer. But so that's still here, which is pretty cool because it's very historic. That was I still remember renting that tape from my local video store and watching that. The crowd reaction to Sting winning was phenomenal.
It was amazing.
I can only imagine being in the building. Yeah.
Yep. The best wrestling buildings hold like 12,000 people or more, but they don't have the skyboxes splitting up the crowd into the haves and have-nots. That was something. Zach Barber says, well, it started out positive about Sting and turned into the usual burial. Zach, I'll quote CM Punk. Tell me when I'm telling a lie. I wanted Sting to succeed. I was a fan of so much of what he did, but come on. I lived through it in real time. And as Pal Driver Pete says, I like when Sting would lose his place in a promo and he'd just go, woo.
Yes.
There's so many things about Sting that were just like so flighty, just like, he wasn't a student of the game. He did kind of like with my criticism of Kenny, which is a weird comparison to Mike because Kenny's, obviously awesome in the ring, but Sting just kind of seemed like, oh, the red light's on. What am I supposed to do? Like there's no forethought, no practice. He wasn't taking seriously the craft of really thinking stuff through to maximize what his potential was. And that's been the criticism of Kenny sometimes, just kind of winging it and floating through because, Sting was charismatic and had great spring in his legs and was getting pops, and Ric Flair made him think he was better than he was. And then Kenny, great in Japan in the ring, but it's like you got to turn yourself into a draw on a weekly TV series in the United States to compete with WWE, and he just wasn't up for it for most of his time. He's stepping up now.
There's a reason Sting got over the most when he stopped talking, So.
Yep. Oh, Zach, or before that last post I mentioned, Zach Barber goes, wait a minute, is Wade saying something positive about Sting? I always say positive things about Sting, but I'm just there's good and there's bad, and he got paid a lot of money to be not a draw.
I'm an admitted Sting fanboy. I mean, probably because I love the movie The Crow back in 1990 with Brenton Lee, so that probably influenced about
it was peak Sting because he wasn't doing anything. He didn't wreck it. He had a presence and aura to him that was undeniable, and that's what that era accentuated in him.
And I did love his AEW. Actually,
go ahead, JB. I interrupted Dennis. I interrupted JB, so don't you add to it. We don't need two rude people here.
That's all I had to say. It's just I love this AEW run.
Gotcha. You dropped in at the right time because you didn't have to watch Sting, have mediocre matches and screw up on promos. You just got to see him be cool with a baseball bat and a black robe in the rafters. And everyone sell for him like crazy. Well, he was apparently, according to Eric Bischoff and others, like completely wasted and out of his mind. And going through a lot of personal stuff. But anyway, Dennis.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that, he completely ruined that gimmick, though. Like, as soon as he won the title and he had to talk. Like, as soon as he started talking again, it was like all the mystique was completely gone. He said 3 words, it was over. It was like, oh. And then that was kind of like the end of all of that. If you look back, that's kind of the beginning of the NWO going down. WCW's start to going down is because NWO gets bloated, blah, 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 all of that. So, Sting talking is what ended that.
Yeah. What if like Obafemi opened his mouth and he sounded like like I don't Baron Corbin. He's not the best example. Like it's just the voice didn't match the aura, and Sting's voice never matched the aura. It's just some California Valley girl's in intonation to his voice, and it was just, and he didn't work on it, and it's too bad. But he had guaranteed money. There was never he's coasted through his career without a full-time schedule where he got to hone his craft. He let Ric Flair carry him, thought he was better than he was. Had a lot of bad opponents who couldn't carry him after that, and he was gaining guaranteed flat pay. He got, like Vince McMahon had the right idea when he finally got to the downside guarantee. But if you do better because business is good, you'll make more. And Sting didn't have that. And it's human nature to be like, hey, I'm working out in the gym and I'm showing up. I got good outfits and the crowd's popping for me. The rest, I don't know. I'm not going to get paid more for trying harder. And he didn't. So, all right. Derek Mitchell says next week, Kenny's going to say, Calgon, take me away. JB, does that ring a bell at all?
No, I did see where the Arby's reference earlier though, so I'm pretty. It's not the Arby's, the beef one.
Where's the beef? Yeah.
Where's the beef? Yeah.
Calgon, take me away is I think early '80s, Derek, commercial about a bubble bath thing that you would run, and it like had aroma to it, and so women would sit in the tub and go, Calgon, take me away from take me away. The implication being I had a stressful day, and Calgon, and just soak into the tub. So look it up on YouTube. I'm sure it's there. Dennis, did you know that?
I didn't know that one. So that one's a little even maybe before me. So yeah.
Sorry. I do like local jingles though, and I travel a lot for work, so I'll hear like the local like lawyer jingles or like that always make me laugh. People are pretty creative with those. So
yes,
across the country. Yeah.
Yep. Zach Barber defending Sting says, and yet Sting persisted for another 30 plus years and actually upheld his reputation as a good person. I had to clarify this too on Monday. When I'm critical of John Cena being an insufferable phony, that doesn't mean he's not a good friend. It doesn't mean he's not super friendly to the podcast people when the cameras go off and he's super nice. That's that's not my point. My point is his on-air persona, pitching Club WWE or saying I'm the last world champion and patting Cody on the head like he's some 21-year-old rookie when he's actually accomplished more than John Cena did in terms of drawing big stadium crowds. That irritated me. And I didn't like him saying to the crowd, I hope we entertained you. I think that ruined wrestling more than anything in the last 25 years. Because it was so boneheaded and stupid and symptomatic of John Cena's, I would argue, relatively low IQ approach to everything he did as a main eventer that hurt the business overall, but helped him a lot. Sting is a nice guy. That's not what I don't grade people for being better on promos because they're nice off camera. That would be stupid. It would be credibility killing. Zach, you have to understand that. And Sting persisted for 30 plus years because he was a star during a peak era. And he was available to all the secondary companies. And then he had a little run in the WWE, which worked out in part because he was part of the machinery. He even said it. He walked in and looked around like in awe of the production, in awe of how much more professional everything was. And he did all right. But, he persisted for 30 plus years, not really being a difference maker, I mean, if we're to tell me when I'm telling a lie. All right. I'm just seeing. Oh, Derek had a good. Since we're talking Sting here, I don't know how we got talking about Sting. Derek Mitchell says the best of Sting in the ring were his matches with Ric Flair, Rick Rude, Vader, and Mick Foley. Absolutely. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Easy. Like there's no comparison. Those four are the most memorable. I can see them right now in my head. Like Surfer Sting, especially Surfer Sting. He really had no highlights as Crow Sting until AEW because his stuff in TNA completely forgettable. And then the latter half stuff at WCW was pretty unforgettable at times.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of quality matches, I mean, the Sting Hogan stuff was just a mess. And Eric's talked about that a lot. Sting and Luger, sort of the Batista Cena or Michaels, but I think they had, I think there was, I don't know. Maybe I looked at it as the spectacle of who the bigger star is going to be. And they're kind of battling for the number one spot. But I think they had some passable matches with charisma and power moves.
And the crowds were into that. Like I remember the crowds being very much into the Sting versus Luger dynamic as well, which always helps. Always helps.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Painmaker, Tommaso Ciampa. Is it just my soundbar setup? I couldn't hear a thing Jericho was saying over the music. Like the music was so loud, and I think we're supposed to hear what Jericho was saying. There was some narrative there, and I almost rewound and turned on closed captioning to see if it captured it. Did that happen to you, JB?
Yeah, I mean, I caught it wasn't the clearest for me either. Granted, today I actually watched on regular cable because I use my parents, but I heard that he said something on you're getting teasing to get ready for hell or something like that was the last thing he said.
But, I just caught sentence fragments.
Yeah.
I mean, if Painmaker was a legendary character and Chris Jericho's over, you look at that vignette and go, they did a good job. But it feels sort of like flailing and blowing out of proportion, something that people don't really have an attachment to. It's not like Finn Balor and the Demon for a while. Like, it just doesn't, I don't know, and so it does kind of feel like he's reaching for something that was never really there for the audience he's going after. Dennis, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, this does not work at all for me, any of it. And he was basically saying the exact same thing that he said, I believe it was last week. And yeah, it comes off very cringy. That's really all it does. It comes off very cringy. You've got a guy Jericho is a legend. Like, just live on the fact that you're Chris Jericho. You don't have to pull out stuff like this just because it's a hardcore match. I don't like this. I don't like Ciampa and I'm a heel, but I'm gonna cut babyface promos. All of this is I'm over this. Like, the fact that this is the 10th match or the 9th match on the show, like, it's just going to add 20 minutes to the show. That's all it's going to do, because it's going to be a 15-minute match. It's going to be a walk and brawl. It's going to go longer than it needs to go. They're going to pull out the stupid drill again. Just all of this is just no. I'm over it already, and I don't really want to watch it on Sunday.
I want some people anonymously in Montreal who work in the building, like, if they know people who are going to just put up signs like all over the place before AEW arrives, just going, the electric drill is stupid. Stop it. Just like paste it on every door and locker room backstage. If you have a staff member or two back there who can just kind of plant the seed, and then, Ciampa, you should know better. Anyway, so few people commenting on Jericho. Standard Aviation says, I'm not sure what to make of the Painmaker's promo tonight. Zach Barber goes, oh, good grief. The Painmaker thing is so unbelievably stupid. Standard Aviation adds, it feels like it's AEW era Jericho, and that's a smart strategy to appeal to the fan base as a babyface. Pile Driver Pete says, the farewell tour of Jericho. He's playing all the singles you know and love. Well, the point is, the Painmaker isn't, it's a little slice that has, some memory of it in a different context.
Japan, though, mostly.
That's the thing, yeah. It's a different context. It's a different place. And so... I'm like, by the way, I'm not I'm not as against it as most people, but I'm not like, I still think it's a little bit of an eye roll and a little bit of a reach, but I'm not like hostile towards it. It's Jericho in his mid to late 50s now, just whatever doing. If that's going to be his character, it's sort of like Sting when he was in the, the oversized t-shirt that the girlfriend wears as a nightgown era of TNA, where he wasn't working out, so he wore the big baggy t-shirt with the Sting logo on it, and he just walk and brawl through the stands. If Jericho's kind of preparing for that with like a gimmick where he doesn't have to take bumps or do moves, it's just swinging weapons around, apparatus around, and whipping people half-heartedly into barricades at ringside and brawling in the crowd just to stretch out his career. If people pop for it because it's Jericho and the Painmaker is sort of a key to build that up, I never discount Jericho's IQ when it comes to I know I'll take some heat for this, but what I'm really trying to do is build up a persona that will buy me some extra paydays and a little bit more time in the spotlight. And if fans are reacting to it, then it's worth doing, even though maybe he is self-aware. It's a little bit of a reach. I don't know. That's my generous. It sounds like I can't compliment, but it is maybe a generous view, but I think that might be kind of what he's going for.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest problem isn't even Jericho in this. It is Ciampa, and Dennis made the point, but it was really bad in Collision this week. It's like, what is he going? Is he trying to get cheered? Because that's like, I don't see anything heelish about the way he's approaching anything. Mm-hmm. And not that it matters that much for Jericho, because I think people are pretty settled on if they like him or don't like him to a certain extent. But I don't know if he's just acting in this context just because it's Jericho, but I hope he doesn't continue to do this because, it's going to be not good for faces that need to get cheered moving forward. But it's been pretty bad in this particular feud, but I don't know if there's a context to it that I'm missing, but I've just been really noticeable to me.
There are things that don't matter a lot, but they're a window into something that matters a lot. Like if Ciampa doesn't get this, like what is that? And if Ciampa's allowed to say this with no check and balance behind the scenes going, Ciampa, wait, what are you doing? Like, there should be somebody who can say that to him and not go, well, he was in WWE and ROH and NXT, and he's a legend, and we're lucky to have him. So you just let him go and do nonsense babyface promos and undercut the baseline story and undercut the babyface or face. I mean, like, somebody's got to be brave enough and aware enough to just pull him aside and go, "What are you doing?" And then it should be a wake up call. And I mean, to me, it's symptomatic of a fundamental misunderstanding of an aspect of wrestling that I, as a huge fan of Ciampa's work, thought he knew better then, and I'm kind of bummed out that he doesn't, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Painmaker says pwtorchvip is B-side Japanese single. Zach Barber, Jericho's a legend, but it's time to ride off into the sunset. He's really like the aging rocker who doesn't know he can't hit the high notes anymore. I think rockers are very aware they can't hit the high notes, and they just want to be in front of crowds until they can't anymore. There's like a John Mellencamp clip the other day that was kind of sad. And who was it John Bon? No, it wasn't John Bon Jovi. Who am I thinking? I saw some other.
Someone like older passed out on stage because they're dehydrated recently.
Yeah.
Lionel Richie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Oh, was it David Lee Roth? I think I saw a clip of David Lee Roth. And
I saw that too.
He looked like he's like 88 and had just been, escaped from a nursing home, barely being able to like walk on stage, but wearing clothes that somebody that age maybe shouldn't. I don't know, but I mean, you know what you're getting when you're going to see a nostalgia rock show at this point. All right, let's bring Sean Plitch into the show. This will probably wrap things up for the most part. Sean, we're not quite Brady Bunch, but we got a quad window here. Sean, what's on your mind about Dynamite?
Just a few quick things because I'd gotten on late. I am sad I didn't get to go because I got to go last year. I called you when I was there, and it's a cool venue. I do like the venue quite a bit.
Hey, everybody, if you're going to go to a show, email me and let me know because I kind of stopped plugging it because I felt we were overdoing it on Onsite Correspondence because sometimes it just it's kind of the same thing and all that every week.
It's been years now.
And stuff. What's that?
It's been years now though. Like since you've had online, so I've listened to you since the Blog Talk days. So it's been years since you've had like someone every week calling.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, if somebody shows up. In recent weeks, we've had the last couple of months, we've had a few. But I'll kind of draw attention to it again. Like if any of you want to be an on-site correspondent, talk about what it was like in the building. Drop me a line, Wade Keller postshow@gmail.com, and I can just arrange for you and send you the link, and we'll make time for you when it makes sense. Since I don't talk about it, we're not getting a lot of people emailing about that anymore, but I know a lot of you are going to the show, so I'd love to have you on. And if we do it for a while and then it sort of seems like it's a little repetitive or whatever, making the shows too long, we'll pull back a little bit again. But they're fun. I mean, it's fun to hear about the buildings and the crowd reactions and things that happen off air and Tony Khan's rah-rah speeches or how whatever. So anyway, Sean, go ahead.
Wait, it's in Detroit next week, so I might go to that. So I'll let you know. Confirm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome.
And it's in Baltimore. It's in Baltimore in like 3 weeks. So yeah.
All right, guys, just make me feel worse. Just make me feel worse, guys. Thank you so much. It makes me feel so great about myself right now. No, I'm just like, Dennis, have I been on with you before? Have I talked to you before, like on the call?
No.
Good to talk to you, man. No, it's fun being on with you. JB, I like you, man. It's all good.
Awesome.
You don't need to hear me spiel about that. So Tekla Willow, real quick, I wanted to say, I mean, I did like the promo mainly because it's a heel and a face who you want to cheer for someone, you want to boo someone, and Willow talked about how much the title means to her. So I love that. I mean, as long as it's that, I'm okay with it. I mean, there's little things I nitpicked, but and I was also sad I didn't get to see Mick Foley live too. That was sad. I would have liked to have seen him in person too. That would have been cool. But then with Ospreay, I didn't like the ending of the show, to be honest. The main reasons I didn't like it were because when I saw that Mox and Ospreay and Wade, you were talking about it with Jason today about with the Bucks, how you liked it. I thought it was just out of nowhere when they first showed the match. I was like, okay, this feels out of nowhere because they really haven't talked that much with the Bucks. They have a little bit, but like to all of a sudden just have them in a match together, I was like, okay, I'm willing to see where it goes. And then tonight they just had the obligatory, Omega accidentally hit Moxley. Come on, Mox, he didn't do it on purpose. And then Moxley gets in his face and they start fighting. And then Ospreay totally oversells. Like Omega barely touched him and, barely, kind of, and he's like, falling to the ground. Like he shoved him so hard. And they're trying to make this feel like a bigger, like overplay, kind of like what Cody did, like you talked about Wade with Cody. Like he's trying to make a big deal out of nothing. And they're trying to make a reason to get you invested in this match. And I was just like, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me, and having Jake Doyle there just felt, kind of out of place. And it's just, I know that he was in the match, but I mean, it just, I want Ospreay to stay a face only because, again, before this Death Rider angle happened, I was behind Ospreay 100%. And this angle has made me not want to get behind him. And the only reason I don't want him to be a heel is because I disagree with you guys. I don't think there's a lot of good faces to go up against him if he does turn heel. I mean, you can do Omega again, but like, okay, you can do it again. That's fine. But then, if Moxley, again, and I want to go back real quick too with Moxley, I don't understand. Again, he's a face and everybody else is heels on the team he's supposedly with. I just don't get it. It does not make any sense to me.
I think you can be a decent person who hangs out with people who do bad things and the other things bond you. It seems like something that you should own and draw attention to rather than pretend no one's noticing or we're supposed to pretend it's not happening. Like it's just weird that it's part of the AEW universe canon presentation that this is going on and nobody talks about it. Like, shouldn't Tony Schiavone go, does Moxley not have a problem with what Pac and Claudio just did to Copeland and Christian? Shouldn't they does Ospreay have a problem that Moxley is okay with, that he's still running with these people? Like, I think you should own it. I feel a little insulted that it's happening and they just expect us to just like ignore it or accept it when to me, it's like in real life, that'd be a huge talking point. Like if somebody who I'm you get what I don't need to lay it out, but yeah, if you are friends with somebody who's friends with people who are doing horrible things, my friends would be like, why are you friends with that person who's still hanging out with these other people who are doing horrible things? Like, I just think real life rules should apply here. Sadler Vision 3, by the way, says, I like the idea of Mox having a method to the madness, but if that's the case, he should be doing smirks to the camera or giving hints that he's doing that. You don't want to be too over the top with it. I get what Sadler's saying, but you don't want it to be like, well, why didn't Ospreay pick up on the smirks? Like he can watch TV or hear from friends who watch TV.
He kind of did tonight.
Go ahead, JB. Yeah.
But in the opening promo, when he said there's no tension in the room, clearly he knows there's. So he's making, he's hinting at it, and the crowd knows that, and it was kind of acknowledged by Omega as well. So I mean, it wasn't like a subtle facial hint, but he actually kind of said something sarcastically. And
Moxley's performances are so stellar. Like, I mean, he's like the coolest guy on every show, even if there's inconsistencies in either what he's doing or how it's being framed by the narrative around him. He is a star. He is just, there's just something special about it. So he walks in the room and it's just like, he's so different than anything else that anybody's doing. Standard Deviation said, yeah, Mox opened the show with there's no tension in the room. So yeah, maybe he's pulling the strings. There's one other. Standard Deviation said, I hope Kenny turns out to be the Death Rider all along since his new song last year features lyrics that would have foreshadowed this story. Interesting. All right, Sean, back to you.
Yeah, and I actually want to quick go. I threw myself off. So going back to Tekla and Willow, even though I liked the promo overall, I liked the segment. I really, it's as much as it saddens me, okay, so I want Willow to win because it makes sense to have her against Mercedes. But again, I just don't. I wanted Willow, if she's going to win the title, I wanted it all in because it feels like it means more. This feels like such a B show to me. It feels like such a B show. I can't order it anyway because I'm out of town. But even if I could, I wouldn't order it. I mean, there's nothing that makes me excited other than, Mox Ospreay Bucks would be a great match. And Fletcher Bandito, there's good matches, but not a lot of story behind a lot of these. And that's what kind of just. And
if parting with $50, give or take, is predicated on, I want this to be a historically significant show where I'm seeing major things live happen or a epic feud being settled. That's not this show. But Tekla and Willow is a significant match with two of the top 4 women on the roster right now. Mark Davis and Andrade is a sleeper match for the national title. That could be really, really good. Mark Davis has been on a roll. Andrade's been on a roll. Kenny and Kevin Knight. It's a big test for Kevin Knight. And Kevin Knight can have good matches. And I'm excited to see Kenny and Knight be in a main event spotlighted match because we're going to learn, where is Kenny health-wise, but how good can Kevin Knight be in a match against somebody of Kenny's caliber with a world title at stake in a main event? That's like, to me, as for my job, like I'm more interested in that than just a rematch of 2 wrestlers who are more established and have an epic feud. I'm really curious how Knight does here. Jericho Ciampa, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Kyle Fletcher Bandito, like you said, Sean, that's going to be really, really athletic and crisp and exciting and probably irritate me in certain ways because they're going to overdo it in certain and kickouts and stuff. But still,
it's
on
Bandito.
paper,
It's Bandito.
Yeah. I mean, it's so
he always does something to irritate.
And Fletcher, honestly, Fletcher does too, with take a big move, pop up, hit a big move of his own. I don't know. There's just he leans into some of the super worker tropes a little too much to kind of try to belong to the club. And then Adam Copeland, Christian Cage against Claudio and Pac. That has a chance to be a really good match, but it's going to be a more traditionally structured match compared to Young Bucks and a lot of stuff that AEW does, because that's who Christian and Copeland are. And I respect that. And Claudio and Pac are great workers. Moxley and Ospreay against the Bucks is going to be a Young Bucks match, but I talked about this earlier in the week on a podcast. Moxley's going to bring something different to that, opposite the Bucks. But seeing Ospreay going back and forth with the Nick Jackson is highlight reel. And having Moxley be this sort of odd duck among the four, changing the cadence in the vibe is interesting. And Sheeta in my world could be a good match too. I mean, so I just look at the card. It's like there's not duds. And if did they add matches tonight?
Yes.
The Jay White. Why is Jay
that's
White
right,
need to be on? I mean, come on. That feud means nothing to me. Like, why does it have to be on the show?
Yep.
I just don't
the ladder
understand.
match too. So we're up to 10 matches. So I like the show 20%, 30% less now. Double chain match. I mean, we didn't talk about that. I mean, it'll be fine. I would rather see these guys not attached by a chain, hitting each other and blooding each other. I'd rather just see a good match because I think all four can go. The 6-way ladder match, I would rather have that be a pre-show match. But now we're starting to get long. So I'm less enthusiastic. I liked it. I would have liked it at 8. These two matches aren't going to be bad, but I'm not super excited about either of them.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see Jay White versus Finley as a singles match.
Yes. Totally. I was hopeful that's where they were heading, actually, with the angle and the beginning of the promo. Like, we're going to get that, and that's like, nope. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay White. I mean, I'm sorry. As much as Juice is. I mean, it's not that I don't like Juice or any of those guys. I just want Jay on his own. Jay can be so good on his own. Like, why does he need to be with all four of these guys just to have them feel good about themselves because they're with Jay White? Like, just put him on his own. Like, let the Guns be a tag team. Let them be in the tag team division. It's okay. We don't have to all be together. We don't have to have 5-6 people together everywhere we go. I don't understand why we feel like this Tony Khan. Why do I have to do this?
Yeah, I agree. I actually put in my notes. I don't hate what Jay White is currently doing with the feud of the dogs, and hope that beating Connors and then eventually Finley will put him kind of more on the fast track to the main event. And I like the Bang Bang Gang as an act, but I feel as though Jay White's higher than I want them to probably stay together, and that's fine. They can be a faction together, but Jay White is kind of a tier of one or two tiers above that in my eyes, and he's got a main event potential. So I hope that he gets a couple big wins here, and then maybe kind of amicably splits and does his own singles run. That's my hope. So
sorry, Wade. If Willow does win, which I guess I'm assuming she does, even though I wouldn't take the title off Tekla personally because I think she's done a great job overall. If you're going to build to this Willow Mercedes match, please give me some. I know Mercedes is technically a heel. Give me some character work, man. Mercedes, since she's come back, has done nothing to get me invested in her as anything. I know she's a heel because she's playing it, but I don't care if she's just a star. She's Mercedes Moné. She has great matches. I want more than that. I want a character that I can boo or cheer. Give me something. Stop this. I'm just here. I'm going to wrestle a great match. Like, again, Fletcher Bandito. This is going to be a great match. I like Fletcher more as a character. I want to see him as a character, like not just, this is going to be a flippy match. What do you think about Mercedes and what she's doing?
Dennis, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say about Fletcher. Like tonight, the mic work with Knight was great. Like that was some great, like just him pushing the mic on him, and just when what he said, what Fletcher said to Knight tonight. But when it comes to Willow and Tekla, I don't want Tekla to lose. I really don't. But again, when you look at the next matchup that they're gonna do, does it make sense to have Tekla, who is an obvious heel, against the girl that is so talented but doesn't seem to get the business, and I don't understand what it is. Like come on, you know what to do, Mercedes, just do it.
I don't know if she does. I mean, Tommaso Ciampa's rude to my faith in people understanding the fundament, and John Cena doesn't. Honestly, I think he doesn't understand some of the fundamentals, which is, I know sounds crazy to say, but specifically speaking, I can, I'm not alone in thinking that, but
True.
yeah, I mean, we are so far removed from the long car rides with the veterans teaching wrestlers a business and wrestlers kind of reacting to different arenas. As Steve Austin would talk about on the podcast I did with him, call it in the ring. Wrestlers need to learn to call it in the ring and react to the crowd and react to the moment, and adjust on the fly. I mean, every generation that goes by, every few years, it's fewer wrestlers passing along that wisdom, and then you've got the social media performance center. Let's get crowd chants as a sign of success rather than drawing money and having people buy in emotionally to the story you're telling. It's fewer and fewer. I mean, they're so isolated. What I'm saying is not reaching them, and they've never heard it, and it just sounds like a foreign language to them to talk about the business that way because they think this is awesome as a sign that you've made it. And
it goes back to the thing that I think it was Punk that said it when he got backstage and Hangman Page was basically like, nah, I don't need to learn anything from you. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding? I mean, I know that Punk is Punk, whatever, but dude has been through a lot in the business. I think he probably knows a little bit, especially when it comes to in-ring stuff.
Yeah. JB, you were going to add something?
Yeah, I got to say, I'm not the biggest Punk fan, so I could get definitely working with the veterans, but maybe he would rub you the way in the sense that, I'll learn from a different veteran, I guess. I don't know. I'm just not the biggest Punk fan, but as a person, I guess I don't know the guy, but I mean, just what I do know about him. But I don't know, he kind of rubs me the wrong way. But I guess I could get the hesitancy. Maybe if someone tells you something in a not so nice way, you're like, well, why should I listen to you? There's other people I can learn from. So
it's more what Hangman said is, yeah.
And Hangman had said like that you can say it was revisionist history or not, but he said that what he said about not taking advice has been greatly exaggerated. He said advice and feedback, particularly from those who have come before me, has always been and always will be welcome and appreciated. And he didn't want to feel like he was dismissing the older generation because of the context of the moment. And Punk had characterized what Hangman said as disrespectful of veterans because at a media scrum, he said, I don't really take advice. And Punk took issue with that and said it was foolish. But I think Hangman has made the case that was taken out of context and he has said that is not his perspective. But he didn't want what he had said, if I remember right now, is he didn't want to copy what was done before, but creatively present a character in a way that wasn't just a new version of something in the past, but kind of was free from that. And so when veterans were telling him how to act, he kind of, from a character standpoint, kind of wanted to do his own thing. So in fairness, Dennis, he's distanced himself from the interpretation of Punk and how he framed it enough that I will take him at face value or trust that he is willing to listen to advice. So
I also think he probably didn't word it the best at the press conference either.
No,
he kind of
it's possible. It's possible, but it does sometimes feel like that there is a little bit of a chip on the shoulder of the elite. There really there was especially back then.
And I mean, I'm thinking of multiple conversations right now with specific wrestlers who, and I've told the story about Seth Rollins in developmental and NXT. He wanted to get all the spots in the NXT matches, and there were, people behind the scenes who weren't wrestlers, the producers or trainers, who were like, that's not what this is all about. Like, we're telling this story, and your spots don't aid the story we're telling tonight. And Seth's like, no, but I got to get my spots in, because he wanted to get the pop and he wanted to get his spots over. And it's just, whoever's bald backstage in NXT, it was probably them, because they're pulling their hair out, having Seth be so obsessed with getting his spots in, because he worked indie shows where you get over with crowds by hitting your signature high spots, and they chant, this is awesome. And NXT was trying to instill in him, whatever the training center was called. Was it FCW? Maybe, I don't know. But they're trying to instill in him, we're here to tell stories, not just get our spots in. And there's multiple examples of that where wrestlers are like, oh, they're old guys, they don't want me to get over, so they're holding me back. That attitude. I remember, going back to Hangman, I asked him after he won the AEW World Title the first time, and I was like, at the media Q&A afterwards, I was like, when people win a world title, they show up at TV the next time with more responsibility, because that belt isn't just something you carry around on TV as sort of a plot point. You have earned the stature in the locker room as somebody worthy of the highest prize. Are you going to approach your things behind the scenes differently? Are you going to have a louder voice and try to steer things? And Hangman listened to me ask the question. He goes, and I'm don't quote me exactly, because obviously this was years ago, but it's all on camera. You can look it up. And he's like, good question. Never really thought about that. I'll have to get back to you. Like it just, to him, it was just like he's world champ, but he didn't become a locker room leader in that way, which is weird. So it's another example of, like, 'cause Shawn Michaels was super worried about it when he won the world title. He's like, oh my God, I have all this pressure now, and I have to carry myself professionally, and I have to show up on time, but now I have more, since Vince McMahon deemed me worthy of being the centerpiece world champ. I am going to be more vocal about who I think deserves to get a push and not a push based on my observations of intangibles and attitude and what they do at house shows and how they earn crowd reactions. So he spoke up more because of it. And that's been a thing. And Hangman, it's like he had never heard of that. It was a concept that just didn't seem like it was something he knew. And I'm like, how do you rise to this position in the business and not have studied it, caught up backwards on things like that? But I guess it's possible. That's what we say. Every generation, every few years, little things kind of fall off the platter of things that you just learn to get ahead. And by the way, Hangman's a nice guy. Like, I do, like, oh, how can Wade, you critical of Hangman because he's a nice guy? I don't edit out criticisms of someone's public persona and performance because they are a super nice guy. Hangman would be one of my favorite people to be my neighbor, but it doesn't change the fact that it wasn't a great answer to that question. And what he said with Punk was probably a little indelicate or poorly worded and whatever. So anyway.
Eric, wait, quick question. Are you going to have Eric on this week for this show, or are you waiting until All In to kind of hear what he's thinking, like, going into that show? I was just curious if you were...
Eric who?
Kroll.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I just want to be sure. I'm like, is there another Eric that I'm listening to? No, he's crossed my mind as someone to reach out to, but I don't think I shouldn't, maybe we'll do one going into Sunday, because when there's Saturday night shows, it's hard for me to fit in the pre-show in the schedule because there's no turnaround time, but maybe we'll do something. In fact, now that I think about it, on my spreadsheet, I had put in that possibly Friday or Saturday would be a preview, probably Friday. So maybe I'll reach out to Eric.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be cool, because I would definitely like to hear his thoughts on some of these matches. I'm really interested to hear his thoughts. So 2 quick things, and then I'll get off in the chat. The first was with Andrade and Mark Davis. Like you said, I'm with you. I mean, the match is going to be really good because I think Mark Davis has done a really nice job. The fact is, for me, 2 things. Yes, you can be a good mid-card champion. They just didn't need a national title. I just don't know why they put that into existence. And number 2, Andrade, it feels like you're building him, it feels like, oh, you're building him up and then he's fighting for the national title. It's like, okay, if he wins it, okay, does that make him feel bigger? No, he's just got another mid-card title, so that doesn't make him feel that much bigger to me. I don't know where he's going from there, but we'll see. I'm curious what they do for the match. And then with the women's tag team titles, I mean, the match was fine. I mean, no DQ, whatever. I didn't like, of course, Julia and Sky have to hold out their Art of Stardom trios champions. I'm like, oh my God, like, we need more titles on this show. Really? We got to raise up these weird looking belts. No offense to Stardom, but
at least you covered up 70% of it. But
yeah, right. And then I do like what Divine Dominion have done. I like Megan Bain and Lena's, been impressive. I didn't know anything obviously about her, but I've liked what she's done so far in AEW. And I don't know what team could beat them because there's not that many of them, but I like where they're going. I mean, Megan Bain has a bright future, so I'm liking what they're doing. JB, always fun. Dennis, good to talk to you, man. I'll get in the chat and finish the rest of the show with you guys.
Thanks,
Sean. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Cool hearing from Sean. We had a great question here from Dougie Doug. If someone wins both the national and international championship, are they then the world champion?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like they should be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I said something like that about in my article that does Tony realize he has a national and an international champion? Like, it just makes it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre, and a world champion. So yeah.
It's I'm not
it's too much.
Rant out. Yeah. Johnny Gargano displays. Derek Mitchell says Johnny Gargano displays more charisma and life, but lying on crates during SmackDown than Sky Blue and Julia Hart do during their entire performances. Dennis, you don't like that?
No, come on.
Yeah.
We all know I'm a fan of the Sisters of Sin. Like, come on. No. I don't get that. I actually liked that match. I thought that they all looked pretty good in it.
I like that match too.
Yeah.
I guess to add a little context, I mean, I don't know about context, but to that match, I almost think the Sisters of Sin should have wrestled the Brawling Birds instead tonight, because I mean, sure, the women's tag titles wouldn't have been involved, but then you get the proper heel face alignment, and the Birds need more quality wins at this point than Divine Dominion does if they plan on playing against each other at Wembley. So I think I would have just structured that a little bit differently. But like Dennis, I have no problem with Sisters of Sin behind Tekla. They're fine.
They're young. They're still learning.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, it was a decent match tonight, I thought too. So
Yeah, yep. I'll throw to you guys for anything else you want to add in a minute, but I'm going to sneak in 2 more super chats, and then if you got anything else you want to add, you can. Otherwise, we will sign off. First, Zach Barber with another super chat. Thank you, Zach. Says, thoughts on Tekla possibly dropping the belt to Willow and fighting Kairi Sane at All In as part of her war with Stardom.
Oh.
If they could get Kairi Sane, I wouldn't hate that direction.
Yeah. She was a little shaky in her
I-
last WWE run, but I'm not super down her. I think that could work. It'd be,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want AEW to seem like, we'll just grab anybody from WWE who's released, but I think there's more. It's more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. Derek Mitchell says, I think JB mentioned it last week during his email. Jericho changing his voice inflection and wears face paint mimics the Blade Runners in Mid-South. It doesn't make him any more intimidating.
Oh, yeah, Derek's got good, really best memory at the Torch, because I think I did say that last week. I can't even remember. So
Yeah, Derek remembers a lot for sure. Yeah.
Yep. It's good to have that because there's a lot going on and it's easy to forget. A lot going on. Okay. Dennis, anything else you want to add from tonight's show?
Nope. Just I feel like just on the potential B show type of thing with the redemption, having no having no MJF, having no Swerve, having no Hangman, despite he made his return 2 weeks ago and they haven't really mentioned it. It's really weird.
It's
So
like
it just
Seth's
makes
heel
it-
turn. It's like Seth's heel turn after its main event got ignored. It's not in canon.
Right. So I just think it's just like kind of a weird pay-per-view because I assume all of them will be back for All In. So they're gonna show up next week. It's just makes the pay-per-view feel a little off, but it's okay.
Yeah. They're gonna now start adding matches. Just make you happy, Dennis. JB, anything you want to add?
yeah, just a few points, but Sean mentioned it about Mark Davis and Andrade. I actually hope this match is a vehicle. I'm hoping MJF will make a return and interfere in this match. Even if he's not healthy, he could do like a run-in interference to set up a feud with Andrade, maybe at Arena Mexico or maybe at All In or even possibly both. So I hope that's the direction. I hope that's why this match is on the card. I hope it's more of a vehicle, just being a match to have a match. So that's one point. For Darby Kevin Knight match, I thought was pretty good tonight. They even gave me like a slight bit of doubt about the finish of the match, given the growing rift between Knight and Fletcher. And I thought it was possible that it could play into the Fletcher maybe unexpectedly losing the title, and that adding more fuel to that fire. Obviously, it didn't happen, but at least I was able to buy it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like the dissension between Fletcher and Knight has been accelerated at a faster rate than I would have expected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do feel like this could be a valuable AEW long-term rivalry, kind of similar to what Hangman and Swerve had for a while. If they continue to add layers to the story over time, I think there could be a certain amount of value in that.
Not that anybody cares, but I think what's going on with Fletcher Knight is like what's going on with the Minnesota Vikings quarterback situation. Like just two people vying for the same spot, and they're just like cold, and there's tension. And I haven't been following closely, but there's some comment one of them made, which is like, well, we sit on opposite sides of the video room, and we don't interact, but we're rooting for each other. Wink, wink.
Definitely. I feel like you can build that. You can build that kind of tension. I mean, not to talk about like
it's a
high
real
school
sports story.
Yeah, no, I mean, I battled with someone for the third base starting job, like in high school baseball. We weren't friends, so I understand.
Yeah, and actually, I got a little biased though. I'm a JJ McCarthy guy. Met him once in Ann Arbor at a bar, and he's a pretty nice guy, but a little weirdo, but pretty nice guy.
So why was he weird? Let's break news here.
I don't know the way the cadence in which he's. I mean, granted, we talked for like maybe 5 minutes, but the cadence in which he speaks felt like a little like alien as opposed to human, I guess. Super nice guy though. Like he didn't have to talk to me by any means, but yeah, it was just the way he phrased things was a little bit like the normal people. It was like a bad wrestling promo. You know what I mean? Where like you like overly scripted or wasn't.
The offensive line, like when he's like rallying them at the sidelines, and they just like sitting down, and JJ's like, "Come on, guys, we're gonna do it," and all the like 300-pound offensive linemen who have been in the league for 12 years or 8 years just looking at him going, dude, you haven't earned our respect yet, and you're not going to psych us up. Go sit down and learn how to learn the plays better.
I think he got a bad rep last year to a certain extent. He had moments, and it was really his first year of starting, and it wasn't the best situation. So I think there's some potential there, but we'll see. It should be a good quarterback battle. So
he's an interesting personality. I don't know. I don't have a fully formed opinion of him, but I'm what you're saying resonates with me, JB. I saw things that I did not see from like Christian Ponder, in his throwing arm and his composure, and I love his fight. I love his joy of performance. I love his like desire to win. He's not just like, oh, I'm gonna dryly collect a paycheck. So we're losing everybody here. Who cares about the Vikings quarterback? All right, Sean Plish says,
I like Lamar Jackson. So yeah, I like Lamar Jackson. I'm a Ravens fan. So yeah,
I have no problem with the Ravens. So
yeah.
I'm we're in the deadest time for sports. World Cup's over, NFL preseason started yet. People aren't doing fantasy yet. The baseball season is sort of in the nothing urgent happening, and there's no NBA news. All the executives in the NBA are taking their family vacations now because there's nothing to do. But we're like a month away, and there's going to be like preseason games, and I just learned today the NHL expanded their season to 2 extra games to 84, which so I guess that'll add like what 2.4% revenue to them. I don't know. The NBA, like all the players want to cut it down to 60 because it's just too hard on them. The back-to-backs are too hard, but the NHL doesn't make the kind of money NBA does. So anyway, I'm just rambling about random sports things entering my mind. Sean Plish had a super chat. MGF doesn't need to lose anymore right now.
Yeah, I don't think he necessarily has to lose the Andrade feud, though. He could win that feud.
No.
Yeah,
definitely.
I want to say I thought Kevin Knight and Darby Allin was a really fun match. And we didn't talk about that because it was the first segment of the show. It didn't have a lot of ramifications, but I was curious what they would do. I thought Kevin Knight was going to lose going into a world title match, but I didn't think they were going to have Darby lose clean to him. And so we got a ref bump, and a crazy match. And I kind of want to pick what to focus on here because this is our closing topic here, and I was about to sign off anyway. But Kevin Knight was so like stalling outside the ring, like playing to the crowd, and it was like I like that Darby was just like losing his patience. It's like when my dog was fetching a tennis ball, and he runs up to me and drops it while we're playing, and I like look at my phone. He's just like, "Come on, throw the ball!" And like Darby was in the ring, just going, "Come on, get in the ring, we got to fight." It was like, and he just couldn't help it anymore, so he just dove through the ropes, and I got a kick out of that. And then they brawled outside the ring. They didn't ring the bell till they got in the ring. And when they got in the ring, by that time, it wasn't really like an unfair advantage where the ref should have it wasn't egregious to me. So I kind of like that. And Taz, explained the rules. You can't ring the bell till both guys are in the ring. So I like the start of that. And the Darby crotch landing was wild. Like I don't know how he does any of this stuff that he does, but I did ultimately enjoy it. We don't get a lot of ref bumps in AEW, but I thought this was a good one. I thought the kind of catapult or whatever it was out of a attempted sting, was it the Scorpion Death Drop that he countered? Yeah, it's kind of not.
Yeah.
So really, I thought it was a well done ref bump, and it made sense. It didn't feel like a cop out as much as trying to tell the story that Knight is resilient. He'll cheat to win. Didn't need the Don Callis family, and they really underlined that story. That he says he doesn't want the Don Callis family help to win, but he's willing to go to other means. So he was a man of his word, but also a hypocrite at the same time, technically. So I don't know. I thought it told some good stories, and it was a fun opener. JB, what'd you think?
Yeah, I agree. I kind of covered a little bit of that, but it was a fun opener, and I think they're really trying to elevate Knight and they're keeping Darby relevant too. Mm-hmm. But the point you made about the dog with a tennis ball, I think it was one time with Callis in commentary. I think it was the last pay-per-view. He goes, or I can't remember when it was. Darby Allin's a rabid animal. He should be in a cell or something like that. So he kind of resonated. But it's funny because he gives off that vibe. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's not something you can really teach either. So I think that's something unique he brings to the table.
You just know he's like gets in the ring. He's like, I want to fight. It's just my dog's like, throw the tennis ball, put your damn phone away. I want to chase this ball. It's like I want to fight. All right, Dennis, how about you?
Oh yeah, no, I agree. It was fun. It obviously was the vehicle to try to get the Jet over as somewhat legitimate. So Darby did his job, and Darby's just great. Like I'm sorry, like the people that are down on him and don't like him, whatnot, like whatever. Darby has been great since pretty much. He's been great since the first Fyter Fest against Cody. Like, and I mean since then, like they have just built Darby he is AEW in a small way. So yeah.
I like Darby being a babyface who picked up a belt, could have used it, would have been as justified as Nick Aldis was in using it. Nick's like, hey, Gunther, you were going to use it. I know I'm using it against you to stop you from ruining the integrity of this match. He could have, and we could sit here and go, hey, you fight fire with fire, but he didn't. and it cost him. But I like that Darby had the integrity to go, I'm thinking about it, but no, that's not who I am. And I can win another way. And it did ultimately cost him because it gave Knight some time to recover. But then Knight won with a belt. But again, you're trying to get heat on heels, and AEW didn't take a fire extinguisher to it like Stephanie McMahon did in her post-match commentary last Saturday, going, Nick should mind his own business. She didn't pick up on any of the storyline beats that they were trying to tell. And in this case, I don't think the announcers heard it. So I thought there was a lot good about. You can go, I don't like ref bumps, but they don't do it often enough that it would happen naturally now and then. And I don't know. Yeah, I was okay with it.
No, totally agree. It worked in tonight's
Definitely.
context in particular.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, cool. Thanks, JB. Thanks, Dennis. It was fun having a panel discussion.
Yeah,
here.
man.
Yep.
Yeah, really
Definitely.
cool.
Definitely.
Pleasure talking, Dennis. Yeah, it was cool that we get to do this tonight.
You as well, Jebby. I will listen to your Impact thing. I already started it yesterday. So
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been fun to
of
do
course.
so far. Just and Zach Clark's really good too. He's kind of leading me with questions, so then I continually not stop talking. So
Awesome. All right, thanks everybody. Put the VIP banner on the screen for our YouTube viewers. To everyone in the podcast world, pwtorchvipinfo.com. Go VIP, support us. If you love what we do, you like what we do, you can support what we do, and you get a lot. This isn't just charity. You're getting a lot in return for your membership. We've covered every big story in wrestling in the newsletter and on podcasts for nearly 4 decades. It's really good stuff. I get pulled into it. I love reading the old stuff and listening to the old podcasts, and just getting a commercial-free version of all our free shows probably is worth membership alone. Your time's valuable. And so if you want to support a small business and you think we cover wrestling the right way, that's a good route to take, and we'd invite you to do so. pwtorchvipinfo.com. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Thanks especially to those who contributed super chats. Derek Mitchell, the king of super chats, as always. And Standard Deviation, got to end with this. Enjoy AEW Reemergence, everyone. Well played. Well played.